Hey guys, how you doing today? Welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. Come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can read some interesting articles, such as the article we talked about during the podcast, called In and Out, Lubeck, Getting Drunk with the Mouse, and a Heart Filled with Wanderlust. A Wayward Wanderer's Tips for a Road Trip Across the U.S. It's a fun article for anyone thinking about traveling across the United States, because we do have a great country here. We have a lot that we take for granted, and I think people should explore our country more. So check out that article. And there's a book I've written, and which I am in the process of trying to get professionally published. The manuscript is on the website. It is titled The Malediction of Lewin Glass, and the synopsis of that book is: Lewin Glass is a former priest who sold his soul to the devil so he could save someone he loved, but it turned out he was conned in the deal, and now he has a year to get back his soul before he goes to hell. It is on the website. It is just a manuscript, so there is going to be some bad grammar in there, but check it out if you like it. If you don't, if you have any ideas about a plot or if there's any plot holes that need to be fixed, let me know. But it's free on the website for you to read. Again, the website is called ataboolife.com. There's also other episodes of the podcast, articles, and short stories. Today's guest is Mr. Evan Werthman. He is a food truck owner, in which he helped a couple workers get some money for their bills after the Jacksonville EA game Madden shooter of last week. We talked about him helping those workers out. We actually did a lot of the episode about him operating a food truck, the process he went through, the business plan, the problems he had to take on, and also solve. He really is kind of an inspirational guy, because he's only 24, and he's already a small business owner, and he's doing a really good job, and some of his problem solving skills are just remarkable. Like, I was really impressed how he was able to negotiate deals, fix problems on the fly, look to the future, being optimistic at the same time. This was a great episode. And also, he gave me a little story about how he first started doing the food truck, where he got the idea from, and him doing magic tricks for Bill Murray. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. His contact information for the food truck, if you want to rent them out for a catering gig, will be at the bottom of the description of the episode. So you should check him out if you're in Jacksonville. But I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. He was a really great guy to talk to. You could learn a lot from him, especially if you're someone who is thinking about starting a business, especially a food truck business. So, enjoy. Alright, we're live. Alright, guys, I want you to give a warm welcome to Mr.
My name is Evan Werthman. Currently live in Jacksonville, Florida. I run Joyshtick Food Truck. I'm originally from Brainerd, Minnesota. That's where I grew up. I'm 25 years old. I think that's a pretty good profile to start with.
Yeah, the reason why I contacted you to do the episode, because I saw you on the news.
Right.
Yeah, for the... Well, once you explain that.
Sure. So, most of you probably should be aware, there was a shooting in Jacksonville last Sunday at about what time it is now, 2 o'clock.
Yeah. What date was that?
That was it the 26th?
I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, there was a shooting there. It was in the Landing, which is people kind of associate it with being a sketchier part of town. At Chicago Pizza, or more specifically, it was at GLHF Game Bar.
Mm-hmm.
And GLHF is essentially, if you don't know what a game bar is, there was one. The first one I went to was in North Atlanta. I guess it's on the outskirts of Atlanta. It's in a suburb, but it's called Battle and Brew.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept is you sit down at like a computer or like an Xbox or something, and you like pay for time on the either the computer or the PC, and they have all these games loaded in there for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can play whatever you want, and then they have a menu, and you can like order food, and they will bring you food while you're playing. And it's a really, really cool concept, and I think it's starting to become like a really big thing across the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met Cliff, who started it a few months before I actually launched the food truck, and I think it was like August 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2016 is right. And so, long story short, he made this game bar. He converted the back of his restaurant in Chicago Pizza into one of those game bars. People call them like esports bars.
Mm-hmm.
So the shooting, there was a Madden regional tournament being held there, and there were all these Madden pros from really wherever, because their goal was to win that regional so they can move on to the national tournament, which I think is a pretty big payout.
For the regional one, I understand that was also a payout too, right? It's
yeah,
like
it was like,
$5,000.
I think it was like $5-8 something like that.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, regardless, it's like that's a month's worth of pay or something like that.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good for the.
I would certainly take that. So you had all these guys fly into town, and me and Hannah, my girlfriend, were actually there on Saturday. We were going to the Jags-Falcons game that evening, and we went to a food truck rally downtown at Hemming Park in downtown Jacksonville, and our plan was to get a couple drinks somewhere before the football game. And so we went over. I don't know if you've been to the Volstead.
Yeah, I've been there. It's actually pretty cool.
Right. It was closed.
Guys,
Volstead.
Volstead. Oh, yeah, really? Well, Volstead, for anybody who doesn't know, or anyone that does not live in Jacksonville, it's a pretty cool, like, prohibition style bar. Speakeasy. There you go. Yeah, so it's a pretty nice bar, but continue.
Yeah, they do high-end drinks. But anyway, we went around the corner. That was closed. And so, like, I gave my girlfriend a couple options, and we picked to go to JLHF because I actually didn't know how crowded it was. Like, when we went there, it was, like, packed on Saturday. There were, like, so many people there for the Madden Tournament. Like, the actual restaurant was pretty crowded. I think it gets crowded at the Landing during, like, game days and events and stuff. But the back area was crowded, so we went to the outside bar. They have, like, a patio bar, and we got a couple drinks, and we were watching the guys playing the Madden Tournament. And one thing we noticed, just, like, first off, is how much shit they talk to one another. Like, it's unlike any other... I watch a lot of esports, but that was a lot of trash talk. And so, like, I know I can't necessarily associate the Madden community with what happened, but I did notice, like, it is a little bit more, they're a little bit more disrespectful to one another than other esports communities I've seen. Long story short, we went to the game and stuff, and then the next day I found out that one of the guys who had flown in from the tournament, he was from Maryland, he lost on day one, and I think it was some sort of vendetta he had with one of the other players, but he came and he had driven down, and he went to his car, got a gun, and shot a couple of the players who were playing on day two, and everyone's instant reaction was, oh, it was some random guy at the Landing, or it was like associated with the area of town it was. And a lot of people were, like, I guess, worried for everyone's safety, which I think is sort of valid, but I kind of knew once I heard from somebody, one of the staff members, that it was one of the guys from the tournament. I kind of had it in my mind. I was like, he's just overreacting. And I guess I don't want to minimize it.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think, this might be a little controversial, but I don't think the entire public was necessarily in danger. I think he was seeking out some pre-plotted revenge.
Yeah.
And I mean, he probably just started shooting in the tournament. I think he just had some pent-up aggression towards some of the other Madden players. But regardless, it manifested itself in a really dark way. And so that was the case for the shooting. And I guess my relation to it is that's the game bar I go to every Monday. I play League of Legends there. I used to, at least. Because they'd offer, like, free hours to people playing specific games on Monday. And that was my day off, and Cliff was my friend.
Yeah.
So I would go in every Monday, and there were a bunch of other regulars there, and I, made a bunch of friends there, and it was a really cool tradition. And not only that, but one of my first thoughts when it happened was that the staff and the owner, the bar was going to be closed down, and we weren't sure for how long. My thought was because it's a crime scene, it'd be a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I've ever been in the position I'm in now, I guess financially, to be able to help when things like this happen. Like, I've always felt unable and kind of powerless to be able to donate to other charities and whatnot. But this was an instance where, like, the food truck I own is kind of in a stage where it's doing pretty well.
Oh, good.
And so I thought I was kind of brainstorming ways we could make an impact and, I guess, give back to the bar specifically. And kind of what I came up with was we were going to donate all of our tips for the week to GLHF, specifically for the owner and the staff, to kind of help in case I'm sure there's some, like, because when I worked in the service industry, I worked at Taco Lou in Jacksonville for like a year and a half. I know I didn't have all this money saved away. Like, we were paying bills as soon as we got the money.
Nobody does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know. I just assumed that the money would be needed. And so that's what we did this last week. And for those wondering, like, I wasn't going to, like, hang my employees out to dry. I still paid them, I guess, what they usually typically would earn with tips. So really, I guess I don't know. But I wanted to do the tip system because I wanted to allow people to give more.
Yeah.
Like, because if I just did sales, it's like, it just depends how many people come through. But if I do tips, like, I don't even care if someone comes up and doesn't order anything and puts like a 20 in the tip jar. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
it's basically like a fundraiser.
Right. And I like it because it gives the opportunity for people to kind of, like, step up. It makes people feel like they're making a difference versus just putting all, like, the spotlight on the business. And so that's why I wanted to do tips versus sales. And, I got to make sure I take care of my employees too.
Of course.
But that's kind of my idea for it. And we did our last shift for the week yesterday. And we made a total of $600, which is cool. Like, to me, I have kind of a mixed feelings about it because sometimes you're like, it's only a drop in the bucket, but really, like, that could really help somebody. And
of course.
I'm proud of the way the community supported it, and I'm proud of what we did. And I think it's cool that the news did two different news stations did a story on it, and I feel a little guilty about because...
Why?
I think I don't want it to be about me. Because at the beginning of the week, I made a Facebook post and, like, an Instagram post, and it got shared, like, 400 times, which is, like, more than anything I've ever posted in my life has gotten shared. It just got a lot of attention, and I think I was comfortable with that because they were sharing it for the right reasons and not to, like, glorify the truck, I guess. Because, like I said, I don't think the truck is the star in this. I think the community who came around the bar is the star.
I think the act itself, like, just try and help out.
I think, the willingness of the community to help the bar, I think, deserves the most attention. And so I felt a little guilty with some of the news stories because I think, and I understand why they were promoting the truck. Their reasons were fine. I just feel a little guilty because I think in some way I see my friend going through something difficult. And even somewhat slightly, I think my truck gained some sort of fame from that. And I know none of the intentions are wrong, but it feels a little wrong, if that makes sense.
I think I think that's kind of like a healthy sign of a good person. Like, you actually think about that. It's like
I'm letting myself off the hook, though, because, like, I think we ended up doing a good thing. And I think the biggest part about the news promoting it was in hopes that people would come out and support. And I think that happened. So I think it was a success overall. So at the end of the day, I'm totally fine with it. But there's still a little part of me that's like, I feel a little guilty. But
nah, just because you get a little attention and maybe a little free advertisement from it, it's not a bad thing. Like, because that wasn't the intention. That's
exactly.
That's just a byproduct of it.
Yeah, which is cool, and I'm glad it happened. Because it's always fun to see. I guess I'm very proud of what happened and what I was able to do. So I will say that. Like,
I mean, it's a nice thing when people like you take your business. Like, you know what? You're still going to take care. I like the fact that you said that you're still going to take care of your employees, so you're not screwing them over.
I feel like that would be super hypocritical.
Like, hey, I'll take you guys' pay
to help other people get paid. Yeah,
but like, it's nice that you did that on top of, like, you know what? We're going to try to raise some money, even if it's just a few $100s. Like, we're going to try to do something. Help out people that you associate yourself with.
Because that could be someone's rent. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, even if it impacts like one person there and like helps them out, I feel like that's worth it, like entirely worth it. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think where the landing is right now and where like Cliff's situation is, I'm very unhappy with.
What happened?
So in the later half of the week,
I'm gonna pour myself a little bit more of that drink.
The fire marshal came and looked at GLHF to kind of, I guess, determine whether people could have escaped or whether it was safe or whatever it was. And he posted a cease and desist letter on the business stating that it wasn't permitted. Like essentially in 2016 when Cliff launched, they were saying that he didn't file the proper paperwork to actually make the back half of his restaurant into the bar. Which to me is absolutely ridiculous, considering, like, you know, he's paid sales tax for that. He made it a separate business entity, so the government should have been well aware of its existence.
Yeah,
and I've heard from Cliff and Taya that the fire marshals come out there multiple times, and I mean they eat lunch there and stuff. So like, part of me is like they're just kind of pulling this out of the woodwork to try to shift blame off of the city. I don't think the public's buying it, but I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing because I think they could have probably overcome that. But Morgan & Morgan was helping some of the victims sue, which again I have no issue with because they encountered some real unfortunate circumstances, and then I totally understand why they'd want financial compensation for that. I kind of wish they hadn't sued GLHF though.
My take on that is like, you can't. I feel like nobody should get sued for this, except for, you know, the shooter, and he's dead. But you can't blame the owner or the people of the business because the guy, he went back to his car, right, and got the gun. You can't predict that.
So realistically, I agree with you. Well, I guess not realistically. Optimistically, I agree with you.
But what's the devil's side of it?
Right. So, optimistically, I think it's nobody's fault. Specifically because, first of all, the landing is not an unsafe place. People keep saying that. It's not true. Violence happens everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, there's theft everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. Like, you're at risk for something bad happening to you. That's just a reality of living in the United States and pretty much anywhere else. I guess living as a person. You're just subject to bad things happening. The landing specifically has stepped up security. There are security officers that are there. I'm pretty sure 24/7. They have been very good about keeping the homeless activity down. Yeah. Because it's not like they're dangerous or anything. They just bother people and ask for money a lot.
Yeah, it's a nuisance.
Like, I'm used to it. It's fine. It's whatever. But I've never felt unsafe. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I feel unsafe walking downtown. It's like, all you have to really worry about, in quotes, is someone asking you if you have any change, and then you can just lie and say you don't and keep walking. That's what I do.
Well, I feel the same way when I walk downtown. That area, like, one complaint I have is like it's kind of boring out there, but I never felt like, oh my God, we're in the ghetto or no.
There are parts of town where I do feel unsafe.
Yeah, of course.
Downtown is not one of them. So that takes that off the table. Like, I don't think it's unsafe, in quotes again. Also, there were complaints that the tournament didn't have proper security. Gaming tournaments have never had security. You know why? Because people don't generally act violent at gaming tournaments.
Yeah.
Maybe huge ones, but at least I've been to a bunch, and it's all totally fine, and there's no need for any of that ever.
It's just shit talking, basically.
This was one dude who's a little out of his mind, and I mean, probably in a community that's not super great for people who don't take losing very well.
Yeah.
But long story short, it was no one's fault. It was this dude acting on something and doing something horrible. So that's the optimistic point of view. But realistically, like, I understand how you can, like, I mean, realistically, everybody doesn't ever want to be wrong. Like, I feel like just humanity in general, our gut instinct, the second something bad happens, is to try to explain to somebody why it's not our fault. And so, like, instead of somebody, a victim from this accident, just being like, well, that's unlucky, you know? Like, things happen. Their first instinct is to say, like, this was unjust, something or something bad happened to me. I need some sort of justice. Like, I don't know. I get frustrated when something bad happens to them, the first thing, or something bad happens in general, the first thing they try to do is blame somebody.
Yeah, you need kind of just, I think especially if you're a victim or close to, or have a relationship with a victim, it's just, you do want to blame someone, or you just want to find someone to go after. I think that's just natural.
Right.
It's just natural, but sometimes, and it's just hard, and it's not, hopefully I'm not being an asshole and saying this, I'm not trying to be an asshole and saying this, but sometimes you need to take a step back and just breathe. And I know that's hard to do in moments like that, but also kind of look at the field and think, okay, what really happened? Is there a fault in it? Or, because sometimes there's situations where shit happens and it's not nobody's fault. It's just something happened.
Like, I'm okay with being a little bit of an asshole. Like, the world, like, when bad things happen to you, sometimes it's not anyone's fault. It's just how life is. Yeah. And, like, yes, this was a really bad thing. Could it maybe have been prevented? I'm going to even say no. I don't think it could have been prevented. In any sense of the word. I don't think it wouldn't have mattered what anyone did. I think this guy got triggered. He went and got a gun and shot people up. Like, but the world we live in, I think, yeah, sure. If you can gain something from it, in the sense that, like, you know, there was a guy who got shot in the leg, and or the shin specifically. And, you know, I don't know exactly medically what's going to happen, but, like, that's, like, a big, especially with, like, medical bills and whatnot, that's a big hurdle to overcome. Fuck. That, like, that came out of nowhere. So, realistically, yeah, I get it. And, like, my hope is that instead of, I guess this is the small business owner in me, like, when you sue, you're like, yeah, go after EA. That's fine. They have a ton of money. Go after the landing. Yeah, we all hate slamming. Go after the city. I also hate the government. That's fine. All of those things. But I feel like when you tack the small business owner on the end, that's just a little scummy. Yeah. But I guess that's my take on it.
I was talking to a couple of people about, because last week I was trying to tell you earlier before we got started with the episode, I was recording another episode, and George and Rachel, I was interviewing George, and he was a fireman I was interviewing, and his wife was sitting across from me. She was just here just to join in and just listen. She kept looking at her phone, and I got a text message from my friend in North Carolina, like, hey, did you check the news? Are you okay? Are you downtown? Right. And so we had to look up on our phones while we were doing the interview. But it's like I said before, the only person at fault is the shooter. And my thing is like, I don't think it's, oh, the guy just snapped. Like, no, this is premeditated. Like, you have to actually think about, like, okay, he came from Baltimore with a gun. That's what they're saying in the news. And it's like, okay, I'm losing. I'm getting shit talk. Man, I'm just going to kill these guys. Like, as he's playing, and it's like, oh, fuck, I lost. Well, he had plenty of time to cool down. He had plenty of time to actually walk to his car. It's like, man, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to do this? And it's not something that's just like that.
Right. You had tons of chances to not do it.
Yeah. But it's always kind of, we're all wondering in the end because these guys kill each other or kill themselves or get killed by the police. Why? What was the point of doing all that? Like, why would you kill
and that's the
or
thing.
shoot people?
It was, I mean, maybe I'm just simplifying it by saying this, but it's just a decision out of anger. It's just a gut decision that, I mean, in the sense he thought about it because he could have not done it. Mm-hmm. But, like, you know, I'm going to be honest. Like, I've gotten frustrated playing games too.
Yeah, of course.
And, like, you know, instead of, I'm not saying I'm a much better person because, you know, I feel like if you react negatively when you're frustrated, that alone is like, that's the bad person in you, and again in quotes, coming out. So like, I've taken steps to, you know, control my reactions to my anger, but before it'd be like, you know, you type mean shit to other people's in the chat or whatever, like, right, and that could be a reaction, and this guy might have been, he's in the same situation where he's reacting, only his reaction is a vast overreaction. So it's like, it's the same thing everyone deals with. Everyone deals with reacting poorly when they're frustrated or angry and how to control that and minimize that. He just vastly overreacted. And people, again, sometimes people vastly overreact all the time. Like, you've been in line, I'm sure, at like a fast food place and you see some lady screaming at the guy across from her. That's a vast overreaction to getting angry. Like, some guy cussed me out Friday night because I put cheese on his burger, even though, long story short, God. Actually, I want to tell that story.
Go ahead, tell it.
This guy deserves to be on the internet. Okay, so we were in Nocatee. Mm-hmm. We had a fantastic night, and we had one burger left. Mm-hmm. Literally one burger. Coincidentally, this guy comes up. We were even out of fries. He comes up. He's like, he tells my cashier, I want a burger with onions and ketchup. We're like, cool. So my cashier repeats it. He's like, okay, so burger with cheese, bun, onions, and ketchup. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, whatever. So he pays for it, and we make him it. And as I was making it, I was like, Cam, does this have cheese on it? He's like, obviously. And I was like, okay. And so I put cheese on it. I make it. I hand it to the guy. He's like, this has cheese on it. And he like starts shaking his head, acting all angry. So I take it back. We don't have any burgers left. As far as I know, like, I'm going to fix the burger for him. So I take the cheese off and give it back to him. He gets upset because I didn't make him a different burger. He's like, so we had taken the cheese completely off. He looked up. He's like, we'd get him a new bun even because there was cheese stuck to the bun. So we got him a new bun. Like, it was the same burger. He like inspects it thoroughly and I was like, did you just give me back the same burger? He's like, you have to be fucking kidding me. And what I said was, sir, I don't appreciate the language. And then I was like, we're out of burgers. I can get you your money back. And he's like, yeah, I want my money back. So I give him his money back. No problem. Mm-hmm. But he starts going off on me about how ridiculous it is that I didn't cook him a new burger. And essentially, I was like, I apologized. And he tells me, well, I'm allergic to cheese. And I said, sir, you probably should have let me know that you were allergic to cheese. I mean, whether it was before or at some point when I gave him the like, it would have been helpful to know.
Yeah, like lactose.
Again, maybe not his fault, but he had been screaming at me, and he's like, I shouldn't have to let you know that I have an allergy. Which, from his perspective, I sort of get it. I mean, if you order food, it should be made correctly. However, he ordered incorrectly because my cashier confirmed that it was going to have cheese on it, and whether he wasn't paying attention or whatever, he didn't correct my cashier. So he ordered poorly, and now he's mad at me. And then, long story short, I was like, yeah, you definitely should let people know when you have an allergy. that is also, for those listening, that is a basic element of ordering a food service.
A lot of people with peanut allergies, they're like, they tell the waitresses and waiters,
they go,
like, hey,
what's in your fryer? Is it like
peanut
do you use
oil?
peanut oil? First of all, I don't know how many people use peanut oil. Well, we definitely don't.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you should like confirm it. And I get it. If you have a cheese allergy, though, you should probably take a little extra time to make sure there wasn't cheese, or there isn't going to be cheese on your burger. However, I don't think he had a cheese allergy. I think he was just pulling that out because he was an angry man. He had a kid with him too, so he was like swearing at me or whatnot. And then he goes, "Are you the owner of the business?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I'll be posting about this." And I'm like, "Awesome. Have a great night, sir."
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, you can be a Yelp hero if you want. That's fine. But yeah, it was just one of those instances where he was vastly overreacting. He might have been having a bad day. Like I don't even know if I can jump to conclusions. Like, I think he's a dick, obviously, because he was very rude to us and sort of threatening. But he could have been having a really bad day. Like, it happens. But he chose, in that instance, to overreact. And you do have a choice. You can be frustrated even, but you can just take your money and leave. Like, that's fine. In this instance, this is the most extreme example of overreacting, but it's what people do every day. And like, you have an opportunity when you wake up every day to choose not to overreact when things happen to you that you don't like.
Yeah. And, one thing I'm still trying into philosophy. One thing I read, kind of like a common theme on most philosophies, and I'm getting more into Stoicism. It's like, you can't control the world or anything around you. Only thing you control is like yourself and how you respond to it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, we all have those bad days. I had those bad days, and sometimes it's like, man, I could have handled that a lot better.
Sure. And like, kind of building on what I was saying earlier about how nothing's ever anyone's fault, I think an element of stoicism I wish the society would embrace more is, like, for me personally, like, I mess up all the time, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, if I screwed up something to my employees, actually most of the time, if something bad happens on the truck, like if we get slammed or something and ticket times go up, or if we mess up an order, I usually tell them, no, it's my fault. Because here's the thing, as the manager, as the leader, as the owner, it's my responsibility to put the best people in the place where we can succeed as a business. And so if we don't succeed as a business, ultimately it's my responsibility. Like, if I put one of our employees who's not as good at taking orders, if I put him as the cashier and something bad happens, I can't yell at him because I knew, like,
that's right.
I knew that I was putting him in a position where he would be challenged more. Like, ultimately, I think if you're responsible for employees, you need to be ready to accept responsibility when things go wrong.
Well, it's like strategy. Like, you're in charge of the strategy for the business. And
absolutely. And I think practicing the act of accepting responsibility in your daily life, when like things go wrong, if you're the first one to like look at your own behavior and say, how could I have handled that betterly or better? Yeah, I don't know. How could I have handled that differently, I guess is what I was looking to say. If you're quick to do that, I think it'll cause you to improve a lot of areas of your life, rather than if you were to turn and look at like, whose fault was that besides my own. I just feel taking responsibility and like the stoic approach where you can only control your own response to things, and therefore you can only, like, when you can only look at your own blame in certain matters because you can't control other people.
Also, a good thing about it is that there's a difference between taking responsibility and taking blame. Like, it's like what you said, like, some things that could happen to you. Like, a good example is, say, what would be a good example? If you're driving a car and you stop at a red light and somebody rear ends you,
you take responsibility for what happens.
You don't blame it. Yeah, you don't blame yourself.
You have to take care of your car at this point, and you have to make sure the people in your car are okay. Like, that's taking responsibility. And taking blame is like, that was my fault.
Oh man, I should have left earlier. I should have went on a different lane.
And that's toxic. Like, that's not good. And it's the same thing with the truck. Like, if we get slammed and our ticket times are really long and people are mad at me because their food's taking longer, my reaction isn't necessarily, oh, this is all my fault. But like you said, I do look at ways where I could have improved it. So, like, sometimes it just happens, but I also want to look and say, like, because at the end of the day, those long ticket times, whether they're my fault or not, whether the blame's on me, I like to look at how I could have made a difference and next time what I can do to improve the situation.
Yeah. Well, especially for someone like yourself, like you're, you're a small business owner and all of it falls on you. All of it's on your shoulders.
Right.
And that's like from, someone owns a food truck to someone who owns Amazon. It's the same responsibility. It all falls on you. Maybe it's a bigger, of course, it's going to be a bigger responsibility.
A lot more, yeah.
But it's like the same concept, though.
Yeah, is that at the end of the day, you are responsible, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're all responsible. Yeah, how'd you get started in a food truck? Like, how'd that happen?
That's a good question.
I mean, that's a really cool business, and it's a growing business, because I know back in the 70s it started and kind of like died down. Now it's coming back up.
Well, and I can't believe that it's still growing. Like, it's in Jacksonville, it's like, I would say it's booming. Like, it's a very, very good industry. I think because the overhead's so low, you can't, like, it's not one of those cash cows where you're gonna make millions or anything, but like, as a career, I think it's a really good stepping stone, is the way I look at it. But a lot of people get into the industry because they have worked in, like, the corporate world or whatever, and they're tired of it, and they have some money pent up, and they're like, this is what I want to do for me. My going into it was a lot different, and there are other people in the industry who are like me, but I wanted it to be a chance to kind of launch my career in the service industry, because I had heard a lot about restaurants that had started as food trucks, and like I wanted to kind of make a vision and expand it. And so what happened was, I mean, really the whole thing was kind of an accident. I don't know about an accident. It's just there's so many instances where it could have not happened
yeah.
that the fact that we're still in business is like a small miracle. So I was working at Taco Lu at the time. We were on a catering. We were out in St. Augustine catering the Caddyshack golf tournament at, I don't remember where it was, but it was some golf tournament held by Bill Murray and Bill Murray's brothers.
Oh, it's in St. Augustine, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were out. I think they very selective about. Oh man, it's raining. Side note: I was supposed to go do maintenance on my truck because I had a power cable come loose yesterday, or like one of the connections went bad, and so all my power in my truck shut off, which is bad because refrigerators run off power.
Yeah, and
you need refrigerators. And yesterday, I called in some extra help, and while they were serving food, I was underneath the truck rerouting a new cable. Like, I cut one of the heads off a cable and took the cords and like basically rerouted the breaker box to a different cord.
Oh, cool.
And it worked. But on our way home, the way I routed the cable underneath the truck, part of it was touching the transmission.
Oh.
And so it melted, and part of it stopped for a second. When I got back, I plugged it into our power source and everything turned on.
Good.
So it shut off temporarily. But today, because we have a gig tomorrow, I need to go back. I mean, I might have to do it early in the morning tomorrow, which I guess isn't the worst thing.
Well, if it's underneath the truck.
The thing is, so here's how the rain implicates that is Food Truck City, the place where I keep it, it floods like a motherfucker.
Oh, okay.
And so underneath the truck is going to be extremely wet, and I don't want to lay on my back in the water. I might go check it out. Yeah. Anyway, I noticed it was raining, and that made me very sad, but I'm gonna still see if I can go get it done. back to the story. Caddyshack Golf Tournament, 2016, spring of 2016.
Oh, okay.
Man, I can't believe that happened. Yeah, so Taco Lu like rolls out a food truck when they do certain catering gigs, but the gig has to be big enough. And so because this was a pretty important gig, we drove the food truck out in the golf course, and we're serving players free, I think it was like just different tacos as they were going through. And I got to meet Blake Bortles and Bill Murray. And I was doing like card magic at the time. Like that was the thing I was into. Yeah, it's different.
What?
But okay. So when I moved to Jacksonville, I didn't have any friends, and I was watching a documentary about kids doing magic, and I thought to myself, if they can learn it at age 10, I can learn it. And that's how I got into magic. And then at Taco Lu, I would like go to different tables with like birthdays or kids, and I would do magic tricks for the table. Mm-hmm. So I was doing magic tricks for like Bill Murray and Blake Bortles, and yeah, it was cool. And I killed the card trick I did for Bill Murray. I was really proud of myself, and so that was cool. But I overall just had a really good experience serving from their catering food truck. Like I just thought it was super cool, and someone was talking, one of the guys on the shift was talking about how low overhead food trucks were and how easy it was to start a business as a food truck. Knowing what I know now, I would go back and slap that guy because it's not easy. He is correct though. It's low overhead.
Of course.
And what I did from that point, because we all like just started talking about how cool it would be to have a food truck. And I was like, man, I would love to do that. And another, young man who would later become my partner was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go do some research and see. So essentially I went online and I was looking at all this food truck research and all these like kind of helpful guides to starting a food truck online. And I even went and kind of asked around a couple of the food trucks. Shout out, it's no longer a food truck, unfortunately.
What's the name of it?
What is it called? Oh, it's called Choo Choo. The guy who owned his name's Blake Burnett, and he stopped doing it because it was just so much work. Mm-hmm. His menu was very, very involved. Mm-hmm. I think that might have been part of it, and a part of it is just like it's a hard life, especially in the summer. The summer's terrible. Oof. But I went and talked to him at the time. His food's amazing. I went and talked to a couple others. Twisted Okie is still in business. I talked to him, my friend Kevin from Twisted Okie, and they kind of gave me some numbers as far as what they normally make. And I kind of did a calculation of all the costs and whatnot. And we thought we could start I thought we could start the truck from anywhere from 50 to 80 grand, which for a business is a pretty small amount of money. So it is very low overhead. And I went back to my friend and I was like, kind of, this is what I found out. Like, it's possible we could do it.
Yeah.
And so we got together and we started talking more and about ideas. And I pitched this idea because of how much I liked a place like Battle and Brew, where it's like a video game crossed with restaurants. I wanted to do a food truck with that concept, namely because esports bars and video game bars are kind of like the thing of the future and they're up and coming. And so he said, yeah, that's fine, because he was more concerned with the menu. And I was like, you can have full reign over that. And so I let him kind of run with the food ideas. In retrospect, he really didn't do a lot. I think he let me do a bulk of the work. Mm-hmm. But I went and wrote a business plan, and a pretty detailed one at that. And I started figuring out where we were going to get the money we needed, and I started looking into different trucks we could buy. And essentially what happened was I found a very affordable truck on Craigslist, and I contacted the lady and haggled her down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And we could have had that truck for 25 grand down. Little did I know it needed a lot of work.
Oh.
Also, I found out when I went into the banks, I thought you could just like get a business loan.
It's not that hard.
I was 20. Was I? Let's see. I turned 24 last year. So I was 22 at the time.
Damn, you're actually pretty young for doing
I know.
this.
That's
this
what
is
I'm
really
saying.
young.
So maybe someone older could have gotten a business loan, someone with more credit history.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, they looked at the fact that, I don't really own a house. I have a cosigner on my car. Like, I didn't have the credit to get a loan. And so neither did Mark at the time. That was my old partner's name. And we kind of drew a dead end as far as finances went, because we had no way to get any sort of loan from any sort of lending institution, which sucked. Because I thought that was the end of it. But I kept going and trying to figure out, I guess, alternate ways to get any sort of money. And we planned this Kickstarter campaign because we thought,
We'll see what happens.
Right. That didn't go well.
No. Yeah.
Kickstarter, I feel like Kickstarter, you really...
It's like you really had to have like a...
I don't know.
Like a really unique idea. Like, hey, I got...
I don't know what has
fusion
to happen
reactor
for a Kickstarter.
I built a backyard.
I think it's hard for local businesses like food trucks because people can't directly like get something from it.
Yeah.
So I had a good plan, but it didn't work out. But what happened was we did find some investors who were interested, and I pitched my case to a few different people. I think we managed like $18,000 from
pretty
investors. Good. Yeah, that ain't bad.
That's pretty good.
Problem is, we couldn't even afford a food truck with that. Like $25,000 versus $18,000. So what happened was we'd done all this planning. He still didn't really have the menu figured out, but we had like come to my house and cooked a couple things sometimes, and it was good enough where the investors were like, yeah, this is pretty good. I pitched this kind of like Hail Mary to the lady on Craigslist. I was like, I'll give you $10,000 down, and $2,000 every month for a year. Cause I did all the math and I was like, I think we can manage $2,000 a month payments. And I told her I'd give her $10,000 up front and then $2,000 every month for a year. So after the fact, we would have paid $34,000 for it. Mm-hmm. The original asking price was $32,000, and I had talked her down to $25,000. So I figured if I offer her, in the end, if she has to wait though, if I offer her more money than she originally expected, maybe she'll go for it.
Yeah. And
she did. And so we gave her $10,000 down. We had $8,000 to do like
the fix up
business starting stuff with. But the problem was, when we got the truck, there were some essential parts, namely the kitchen hood, and just there were actually some other pretty major things that weren't okay with the truck. And we didn't know this until I kind of did. I should have done more research in the beginning, but realistically, I think it's just a retrospect thing. Like, with the amount of experience I had, I wouldn't have been able to know. But the repairs, I think, were $7,000, and that would have cut us up really short. So at the time, I was super bummed because we had just secured all this investment money and we had actually bought the truck. So I was like, now what, essentially? And my dad came in and helped us. We made a deal. The deal was he would invest a certain amount of money, and I think it was like $8,000 or something like that. And there were a few implications for me. The first one was that I have to stay in school and finish my college degree.
Oh, yeah.
And
he's investing.
I don't remember what the other two were, but they were like, yeah, no problem.
Well, you're his first big investment, so it's like,
yeah, no,
it's like I gotta make sure that you get your shit together first.
And so we were able to get what we needed, and that's how the truck was started, is just by the skin of our teeth, essentially. We did our opening day and made a whole ton of money on the opening day because all my friends came out to support, and all Mark's friends came out to support. But then after that, after like the first week, when I guess some of the hype had died, we just didn't have any connections. And like when you first start a food truck or a business, you just got to be prepared that it starts really slow because you need to build up your clientele and like the spots you need to go to, because there are like two kind of food trucks in Jax. They're the ones that post up roadside. Most of the time they serve like from like 9 p.m. to like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried doing the late night stuff. That was part of my original business plan, as we were going to try to corner like some sort of late night market. But there aren't a whole lot of people. It doesn't bring in enough cash to actually like justify the time and the effort you put in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are trucks that travel to different businesses, and apartments and neighborhoods and do kind of the traveling around. But what they do is, the place contacts them and is like, hey, we want a truck here. And the truck determines whether they're going to make like a good amount of money or not. And because the place who's contacting you has a dedicated audience who's all there to eat food, as opposed to you just being somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to make some money when you go to this place. At least some, because the place is going to promote you. So we decided to kind of go with that business model, especially as of late. And it's been very rewarding. But you have to build up those spots and those connections. And that takes a while. So we were a month in, and we were all struggling for money. It was me, this guy Mark, and Mark's roommate. And then, being as green as I was and inexperienced, I was 23 then. It was in December of 2016. They had wanted to do a breakfast gig for some ungodly reason. I have no idea why. Because he had to get up at like 4 or something to get to the commissary. But as he was leaving for this breakfast shift, our motor throws a rod. And the motor like blows up. Right. So I get a call from him. Dude's like, yeah, motor blew. I'm going to go home and take a nap. And I was like, okay. And so it was 6:30. Yeah, he's like, he's just like over it. He's like, I'm going to go home and sleep. And then when I wake up, I'm going to figure it out. And so I start calling tow trucks, and I figure out a tow truck. And then the tow truck guy's like, you got to be there. So I, get dressed really quick, drive out to where the truck was, get it towed. And, I was making phone calls, all this stuff, trying to explain to the lady who had the truck. I was like, we're going to be a little late this month on the payment. And calling my dad. The first thing I think I said to him, I was like, I think we're done. Like, because I don't know if we can recover from this, because it's like a $4,000 fix or something like that.
Ooh.
But we found a guy to fix it. It was a friend of mine. His name's Miles Jackson. He's a cool guy. He helps run the Butt Hut, which is a truck in Jacksonville now. They're pretty great.
What kind of food do they make?
It's barbecue.
No, I think I did.
It's pretty good. But yeah, he fixed it up for me, and my dad pitched in a little bit more money, which was very kind of him, to help us keep going. And as a result of that, my partner ended up leaving because he couldn't afford to like not take a paycheck for like a week or two. So I started again mid-December. I hired a couple employees, and we began to start to figure it out, even because I didn't really have a lot of kitchen experience. So we began to we revamped the menu, kind of took some things out, added some things. It was essentially like starting from the beginning. The first year was extremely chaotic. There were a lot of things we learned, lots of mistakes we made. Our generator went that June. Power steering went, I think, March 2017. We had a wheel fall off while we were driving.
Oh my God.
In August. In March, we actually blew a tire on 95. So we had all this stuff go wrong the first year. And the second year has actually been, this power cord has been the first thing to go wrong, but I was able to fix it within like 2 hours of it going wrong. So I think part of it's we've gotten a lot of the bad stuff out of our system, but part of it's we've learned a lot how to adapt and overcome situations. But so being our first year was so chaotic, it just kind of makes everything else seem like smooth sailing. And I think that's why we're in this position to succeed that we're in, because really the way we look at it is like, what at this point, we've been through it all. Like, what else could happen that could be any worse than what's already happened?
Well, the thing is, like, I've listened to you, and like I'm feeling like kind of like motivated now because I failed at the first 2 businesses I tried to start.
Right.
And
my goodness.
Yeah. If you guys could hear that, there's a
That
bad
was
storm coming
serious
outside.
thunder,
This is
so-
Florida. We're in hurricane season now.
Man, there's ups and downs to hurricane season for food trucks. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, we'll get back to that in a moment.
Okay.
But I want to just tell you that, like, it's just really just impressive, like what you're able to do. Like, hey, you had a lot of shit that went wrong, and you overcame it. Like, a lot of people were just quit. And I've been in that position too. It's like, okay, is this worth it in the end? But you kind of just were just resilient towards it. It's like, man, all right. What do I have to do? This is the problem? What's the solution? Who do I have to call? What kind of deals I have to make?
Right, and I think there's kind of two elements to succeeding in the face of like frustrations. I think first of all, you have to have a plan or like an idea that you're like 100% sold out on. Like I was, even on the slow days, and even like when we went to spots and we made a lot less than some of the other trucks, I would always be like, here's the thing. If we have a good product, eventually people will realize that, because eventually it'll get enough people to have your food. Because we had so many people who'd like compliment the food and say the food's really good. Mm-hmm. And so I just kept telling myself, we have a good thing. And also people liked our concept. So, I kept saying like, we have a good thing going. You really just have to stick it out. And because like it kind of comes around, like if you have a quality product, eventually people will tell their friends about you, and eventually your business will build up. Mm-hmm. Like the money might not come right away, and if you're also continually driven to improve, like if that's part of your business model, you will only get better. Like you won't stay at the point you're at where everything's like difficult. You'll continually make your job easier and easier, and get increased results. And then the second part is, so the first part was the idea that you're behind. The second part, man, I don't even remember what the second part was. I had it in my mind, but I think it's probably something along the lines of like, so you need to be willing to like make a lot of sacrifices for something you believe in. Like I remember our first year, I was living very modestly, is what I would say.
That's what you said.
Like, I wasn't bringing in a whole lot of money for myself, and I was willing to do that. And I was working extreme hours, way more than I am now. Like, we're in busy season now, but it's nothing compared to last year. I think you have to just be willing to do what it takes to see your vision through. So.
Yeah, and no, you're a prime example of it. Like honestly, like a business is a business, no matter how big it is or how small it is.
Right.
It's like there's going to be problems. There's going to be sacrifices.
Right.
There's going to be doubt. Mm-hmm. But like I'm like I said earlier, like this is impressive. Like you had all these problems. You had a partner backed out. The truck, you couldn't afford a truck at first, but you found a solution to it. It's like, okay, you know what, we'll give you less now, but you get paid more later in the future.
Right.
That's like some ingenious shit. Like that is like like a CEO mindset right there.
Right. And again, like I feel like I had a lot of support, and I can't take full credit for it, but I know like, and what I tell people also is that I'm not a cook and I'm not a chef. Mm-hmm. And so to some degree, like you'll see these food trucks are doing like some pretty crazy innovative stuff with food. Whereas our truck, we keep it pretty simple. However, we try to do simplicity well. So like the food's good, but it's not like we don't make this, some crazy aioli or anything and use like strange ingredients. Yeah, I hate that word. But
it tastes good, but
aioli is something with mayonnaise.
Yeah, something with mayonnaise.
So we don't do anything like that. But people consistently like our food. It's simple. I love it. I eat it probably more than I should. Mm-hmm. But I am a businessman. That's like one thing that has kind of come a little more naturally to me is knowing the long-term vision of a company and finding ways to keep on that track. Like, I'm very proud of how we've maintained some of the things that I wanted to emphasize as a business. Like, one thing I think we do very well is customer service. I think all the people I hire are very good to our customers. I think we go above and beyond for them in a lot of ways. I think they notice that too. And I think one of the ways we demonstrated that is, like, in the beginning, our ticket times used to be horrendous because, we were really inexperienced. Yeah. And so there were shifts where people had to wait a really long time. And so I kind of made it my mission to figure out ways to go faster. And now where we're at is, like, generally, unless we're slammed, nothing takes longer than 10 minutes, which for food trucks is pretty good, especially a truck that we cook things to order for the most part. So 10-minute ticket times tops is real good as far as, like, the industry average. And that was, again, because of kind of a mission we had that coincides with, the vision to treat our customers well, because in the end, it benefits us as a business.
Yeah, fuck. Sorry, I got a bad itch. Mosquito bites. Well, good question I was thinking about, and kind of skipped my mind for a moment, was how were you able to actually survive so far? Like, are you actually able to make a good paycheck now?
Yeah. So the biggest part of getting to a good place financially for us, paying off the truck. Mm-hmm. Because $2,000 a month for slow months like the summer, that's a big hit. Especially in your first year, it was a big hit. So eliminating those payments, which we did last December, was big. The second thing we did was pay off all of our equipment and our debts. And we got to profit in April this year. And so we have, like, a certain amount of bills every month, including, essentially, I made in the beginning, we talked to our investors, and what me and my partner at the time pitched them was, like, a specific paycheck every week for us, which, if we had taken that, I don't think we would have lasted very long. Or even if I had taken a paycheck every week, when it was just me, I wouldn't have lasted very long, because I don't need a whole lot to live. Essentially, I talked to my investor and I was like, hey, is it okay if I just take what I need to pay the bills I have, which will end up being a lot less than if I had taken this paycheck? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And so what I make now, what I pay, the amount I pay for my bills every month right now is significantly less than what we had agreed that I would get paid in the beginning. But it's kind of, first of all, there's a couple reasons. I don't really care about money that much. I would rather see my business blossom than have some extra money in my bank account. And number two, the agreement I had with my investors comes back to benefit me, because I'm able to buy them out after a certain amount of time. And so if I can more quickly pay them, essentially, and they can earn the amount that we agreed on, I can more quickly earn more money by buying them out and getting a higher percentage of the company. So really, to gain profit, I pay more in rent now than I did before. And I kind of I took a little bit of a raise, kind of, from what I was making before we made profit. I think it's probably pretty justified. But now that we're making profit, generally the percentage I take from what we make during the month, I've been putting back in and getting some new equipment for the truck.
Oh, good.
Right. And so we've gotten some pretty sweet new things that have helped us actually a lot, as far as performance goes, as far as efficiency goes. And it's made things even easier. But now we're starting to get to the point where I'm going to start taking my check and saving it to eventually buy out investors. But yeah, now we're at the point where I'm not only able to pay my bills, but, there's extra. there's a pretty good chunk of profit. And now that fall's coming around, we're hoping for large amounts of that with all the events going on.
Well, like, does the investors did they ever kind of stop you from doing anything, or have they ever like put too much input into the business?
Actually, no. They've all been extremely silent.
Oh, good.
Right. And well, I've tried to keep them updated, and I think they've just seen how much we went through and how I've pushed through it. And I guess, I've had some accolades to show them. Like, we've won some awards for our food in some of the food truck kind of competition thingies. We won like best street food at one of them, where it was all these really good trucks gathered too. We won best street food. We made a custom dessert taco for our rally and won best dessert. It was super good. And I think just kind of some of the recognition and accolades and knowing where the business has been and how far we've come, I think the investors are pretty satisfied, especially when they see things like being able to meet the financial goal and pay the truck off, and being able to get to profit, because I've been giving them projections, and mine have been a little optimistic, honestly. Like, I need to probably tone it down a little bit, because we profited a little later than I wanted to, but I'm learning to kind of adjust my expectations. But I think overall, especially in getting where we were at, specifically getting at a point of profit within 2 years for a new business, and one with the challenges we had, I think is pretty remarkable. And
it is. It really is.
They've been very supportive, and no, they generally don't. They offer suggestions, but I think they just kind of let me do my thing. I think if the circumstances were different, it might be different, but I think they see the work and the results, and they're not too concerned with.
Yeah, they actually see like, hey, it's actually working. It just took a little. Well, I think if you're an investor, you gotta understand like the first year, it's not you're not gonna make your money back.
And in our case, with the truck payments we were making, it was a pretty because like I know other people who took out loans for their trucks or are paying them off, and their payments aren't that steep. Like that was and to have it all paid off and not have those payments anymore is real big. So I think they get that, and I try to update them when I can. So
it has to be like a little bit somewhat easier. Well, obviously it's a lot easier than operating a restaurant, but it has to be in the long run probably a better business. Well, not I won't say a better business model, but a more adaptive business model, because like, hey, if your customer's not here, you can always go to your customers.
Right. There are ups and downs for sure. The ups, I think, overall are that it's extremely flexible, and you go to where the people are, and they're in Jacksonville. There are so many places to go. So I think for Jacksonville, it works really well. I think there's more risk involved with making a restaurant, especially with the location, but there's also more reward.
How so?
With a food truck, so like imagine at a restaurant, like let's say you're at Taco Lu, and you're sitting down and the server is taking your order and bringing you your food. They have like, I don't know, like 10 to 12 to 16 people back in the kitchen making food for like, probably, I think like somewhere around 50 tables in there. So they're able to serve like, I don't know about all at once, but they're able to serve like 50 tables at a time, 50 groups of people at a time.
Yes. Yeah.
All at once from a bigger kitchen. So it's a matter of scale. Like at a food truck, you take one person's order at a time, and the kitchen's very small. It's run by like 2 or 3 people. And so it's just a matter of scale. Like at a restaurant, you're also open all day. At a food truck, you're just, you get like 2 good hours of service. That's like when the bulk of it comes. So I don't know. You just try to bang it out for 2 hours and make as much as you can. Whereas a restaurant, it's like you have all these tables that you can fill at any given point, and there's like multiple rushes. So, I mean, sometimes a food truck can make more than a slow restaurant, but you know, the goal with a restaurant is to get a big customer base and be able to make like tenfold of what a food truck makes in a given day. And Taco Lu for sure was a good example of what you can. It was a risky endeavor by Don and Debbie Nickel, but they're bringing in quite a bit of money on the daily versus what we can make as a food truck, even if we're like killing it. So but like again, there are ups and downs. So like the downs are that, yeah, you can open a restaurant in a crappy location and then it just bites you in the butt.
Yeah.
Because people won't come to you. The ups are that even in making that, like, there are logistical costs to running a food truck. Like, you know, you have to fill your gas up every day in the truck. There are risks you take, like driving. Like there are so many trucks that have mechanical failures on the weekly basis. There are so many trucks that have mechanical things happen that they have to fix. And when you put like an entire kitchen in motion like that, there are other, you know, there's more wear and tear really. And so,
of course, yeah,
there's things that people don't consider that we have to deal with. Like if it rains, like during the summer, we had to cancel a bunch of shifts because it would rain. And the thing is, it's not like there are people who are like, well, we would have still come out. It's like, yeah, we might have come out to a community and get like 10 people who order in the rain or whatever. But that's not enough to cover the costs of us coming out.
Yeah.
So you have to, like, when it's raining, you have to do like a math equation and figure out, is this going to not only pay my costs, but be worth my time? And like, am I going to make money from this? And sometimes with the unpredictable weather in Florida, that's really hard to do. So there's all sorts of factors that affect the restaurant to food truck. I think one huge advantage to food trucks, though, is that it's a pretty established market. You can overcome the issue that Jacksonville has of being so big and go to multiple regions where there are people. Like, you don't have to worry about, are there going to be people there with the kind of the system that we do. And then I think food trucks are starting to like replace lower end catering companies.
Well, it makes sense because the operational have to be, I think, because you're doing it on a weekly basis and probably on a daily basis. Operational wise, you guys are practiced and seasoned, so
right.
You're like, okay, you need it. Oh, I have a wedding on
right.
this week. I need a food truck.
There's so many weddings that employ food trucks now. And like just events in general, whether it's like a birthday party for 40 people, like I do a birthday party for 40 people. That's actually 40 people is kind of my like, that's like our magic number almost. Cause it's usually about $10 a person. We try to make $400 or more when we go out. Which again, to a restaurant is like nothing, but like, you know, that covers our costs and I make money from that. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
And so food trucks, just because of the way they operate, I think are starting to just be a big element of catering, and like that's probably going to be the near future, at least for a while. You're going to see a lot of food trucks catering and being at events and whatnot because people realize it's not very expensive, especially at events, to have a food truck there. They often don't have to pay anything.
Especially if you have like two food trucks, like one, they both complement each other. Like say like your food truck and somebody that specializes in like ice cream or dessert,
right?
Or like you have a different
cuisine. Yeah, maybe like we do well generally like Mexican trucks. That's something different enough.
Yeah, you have the opposite ones. Like, oh well, I don't feel like having. It's not because your food isn't good. It's like I may want Mexican.
Absolutely.
So you have those two compete. Well, not competing, but complementing each other.
Right. You do compete a little bit, but
yeah, of course.
I mean, we're used to that at this point. So,
do you do fees like when you do the wedding? Like, hey, up front, like $400, something like that.
So we actually don't.
Really?
Because my theory is, if they're okay with having our normal menu, why should they have to pay extra for it?
So, because I know weddings, they pay for the catering or the food, so that way the guest doesn't pay for it. So they still pay for it.
Right. So that is what happens.
I should have clarified that.
Yeah, like they'll pay. Generally, if someone contacts us for an event, some people will do like travel fees and other fees or whatnot. For us, we just like straight up like, how many people do you have? Our normal meal with like burger and fries for like one of our specialty burgers and fries is like $11.77. So we'll be like, it's like $12 per person. How many people do you have? You got 50 people, $600. That's the cost, like before tip and before tax. Boom. Like there's your quote. However many people, we just charge you the amount it's going to be, and they can like come pick out whatever they want. Or you can like, make a lot of times for huge events, you got to make the event, menu smaller so we can go a little faster. But like, it's pretty easy. And people who aren't comfortable with spending, upwards of $10 per person, it's like, I don't know what kind of catering you want, but you can get like a platter of Subway or something like that for cheaper.
Yeah, but
so
Subway.
Right, that's what I'm saying is like,
it's not that good.
You get what you pay for, and so people tend to really be into food trucks, depending on what their price point is.
I know. Well, I love Nashville, and I lived there for a little bit. And one of my favorite food trucks was, I think it's kind of starting happening here. Is the chicken and biscuits.
Maple Street is like
Maple Street's big on that.
The biggest thing here that's like that. But that sounds really good.
Yeah, but in Nashville, I forgot the name of the food truck, but it's amazing. It's like a mass. I love Maple Street Bakery, Maple Street Bakery. Right?
Maple Street biscuits. Yeah,
I love it, but like that food truck, like the chicken's massive, the biscuit is massive.
Yeah, food truck.
It's just so good.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of niche ones here too that do a very specific thing.
I know there's a grilled cheese one, isn't there?
That one's very successful. I'm actually pretty good friends with a lot of the people that work on that one, and I know the owner. They have a restaurant now downtown. The thing is, downtown they can pretty much only be open Monday through Friday lunchtime because there's not really many people downtown any time outside of that. But I think they're doing very well, and I really like their concept, and I think they do what they do very well.
Are you thinking in the future that you're going to branch out into like a small restaurant?
So I'm actually working on a project right now. I can't go into detail.
Of course, yeah.
Unfortunately, because I want to go into detail. But if you kind of keep an eye on Joyshtick for the next maybe year. I don't know the timeline exactly, but I am doing something for it this week, and we're making some big decisions this week.
Ooh.
You could see Joyshtick Food in an establishment at some point in the next year.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting, but it's in the stage where we were a couple years ago, where like when I was starting Joyshtick, at any point I was like, well, this might not work out. I'm like fine with that. Like this could be the dead end. Like, when the bank said no to us, I was like, this could be the end. And it like wasn't. But for this project, I think getting the finances for it is going to be the most difficult part. So if we can overcome that, I'm really excited to see what happens. But yeah, stay posted with us. I would very much like to have some sort of restaurant or something. I'm kind of up for anything really, but we've thought about doing another food truck with a different concept, because I have some really good employees that work for me now that I would, trust with running one truck or the other truck. So like, another one of my gifts I think is like managing people and like building relationships, and so I'm really proud of the staff I have, and huge props to them with how far we've made it. I think I could not have done it without them.
Well, it's no business is an island on their own. No manager or owner's island on their own.
I don't know if you've seen, like, if you know a restaurant where you like know the owner or whatever, and then for us there is a restaurant we go to all the time where I know the owner. And the owner used to be really involved with like the day-to-day operations, and it made everything better. And now the owner is like doing more administrative stuff. We never see him in the store. And we've also noticed some of the food and some of the service has kind of gone downhill. And so I think it takes especially good employees to be able to expand and still retain a good product. And that's one thing I really want for us.
Well, it's not to bash a restaurant, but Kickbacks, I feel like it's kind of like that. Where,
man, I've never had an experience at Kickbacks where I was like super happy with it.
Well, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it's like, we would love to go there. Like
Really?
on a Saturday or Sunday, it's like, it was good food, good service, the people were cool.
Right.
Then I think the last time I went there was probably last year. And was a couple of people I knew just talking, and like the waiter made it better. The waiter was actually a pretty cool guy to talk to. But food took forever. Yeah. And it wasn't like the best food we thought. Like, it wasn't compared to a year before.
Yeah, I just think sometimes, like, you know, if the owner starts to not care as much, or if it becomes less involved, you know, sometimes the restaurant goes in a negative direction, which is sad, but it's a reality of business. And so, yeah, I want to prevent that for us. And so I'm really happy that I have the employees I do, because I think it makes it less likely to happen.
That's good. All right, we're going to our question part.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I don't even get to look at them. All right, that's all right.
Well, that's why I gave it to you earlier.
Is
I thought
this
you were
rapid fire?
Not rapid fire.
Okay.
Just to explain to everyone and explain to you too, is that at this point in the podcast or during the episode, I ask these questions. These are psychological questions. They're interpersonal questions, and they're supposed to show kind of like the other side of a person that you don't get to see unless you actually sit down and get to know them. And the reason why I ask these questions to all my guests is because I have people on from come from different parts of life, different opinions. Some of them are radical. Some of them are, I won't say fanatical, but they are unique, and they're a part of a different culture that you may not be. Take that picture. Actually, send me that picture so I could put it on the episode.
I will. I just thought it was worth documenting.
Yeah. Somebody suggested to somebody from a different episode suggested I should start taking pictures to put on a link to the podcast so people could see it. So I'm gonna start doing that now. But to explain to you guys who are the first time listeners, I ask these questions so no matter what, if you disagree with the person, they're still a human being, and you could relate to them on some type of level. So this is the reason why I ask these questions. All right, you ready?
All right, shoot.
All right. Given the choice of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
Dinner guest. Okay. Question.
Mm-hmm.
Are they making dinner? Can they be making dinner?
It's up to you. This is your...
Oh, no, I got my answer. Okay. This is a great answer. So have you seen the show Man vs. Food?
Yeah.
That was my favorite show.
I love that show.
I know.
I know.
So the new stuff isn't as good, but the old with Adam Richman.
Yeah, Adam
that's
Richman.
That's who my dinner guest would be.
Well, he made the show.
I know. That's
he
why.
He made the show.
And, like, I was so obsessed with that show growing up. My parents were like, when I graduated high school, they're like, hey, what do you want your senior present to be? And I was like, I get a senior present? They're like, yeah. I was like, cool, I want a car. And they're like, no, not that.
That's an asshole thing to ask. Like,
yeah.
No, not for you. Like, what do you want as a present? A car? No.
Not that. Like, lower. And I was like,
asshole.
I was like, cool. And I thought about it for a second, and like, man, I was so obsessed with that show. I was like, can we go to Chicago, like, as a family, just eat at all the places that he ate at? And so that's what we did, and I loved it, and it was so much fun, and I got to try all the restaurants he tried in Chicago when he went there.
God damn, Chicago.
Right.
Oh, my God. Good food.
He just seems like such a cool guy and I mean, for me, he just shaped a lot of my, who I am as far as as far as like how I look at food service and how I look at just, the enjoyment of eating at restaurants and stuff. I would probably pick with Adam Richman. And if I could pick a place, I would pick probably one of the places on the show.
Well, like,
probably Permane Brothers, honestly. That's the one place I want to go eventually.
What was it?
That was the one. So Permane Brothers, it's in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
It's the place where they like do the sandwiches, where they put like the fries and the coleslaw on the sandwich.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it sounds really good right now. I'm like making myself hungry, which is really bad. But
well, like you're thinking about that food, like that show. People make fun of Americans for for good reasons because we do overeat, but it's kind of like across the world, food is like a really big part of culture.
Right.
It's probably one of the biggest parts of culture.
I think food is a huge part of our culture.
And it's like it's not only the the flavor and the actual style of cooking or how the food is prepared. It's also like who you share with too.
Absolutely.
And I like how Man vs. Food, that show, because like you said, like when I was in high school, me and my sister used to watch that show.
Right.
It was like a lot of people I knew watched that show because it was so cool. Like,
right.
Oh my god, this restaurants, like it's not my thing is like I hate, especially when I travel, I hate going to like name brand restaurants.
I try not to also.
Like I want to go to the mom and pop stuff, like the stuff that locals eat.
Right.
Like, okay, you have to go here. Like for a good example is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
There's this restaurant I love. It's called Hattie B's. It's hot chicken.
I've heard of that place. I think
most of the time, if you go on lunch or dinner,
that was on the Food Channel at one point.
Well, if you go lunch or dinner, you're going to be in line for an hour.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It really is one of those restaurants, like, yes, you have to eat there. It is worth it. You're not getting screwed over. Like, they take the time to actually prepare the chicken. I think they take it the night before.
I'm sure they do.
And it's like, it's worth it. And it's like places like that. It's like, yeah, it's not, I think they only have 2 or 3 restaurants, but they're not a nascent brand thing. Because I feel like once you branch out to that, it's like you're going to lose what made it special.
Right.
Unless you're In-N-Out. Have you ever had In-N-Out burger?
Oh, man, I haven't been to the West Coast yet. I know, it's on my list. Because...
It's like, well, I wrote an article on my website called, I forgot the full title. It's a long title, but in the title says In-N-Out. It's a tips of taking a road trip across the United States.
Sure.
And I did that 3 times. And one of the things I suggest, I tell everyone, is mandatory. Like, once you cross the Mississippi River, I think they have In-N-Out burger in Texas now.
Wow.
You have to eat there.
Yeah.
Like, you have to, before you go in the restaurant, go to the website because they have a secret menu.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And look it up, figure out what do you want. And it's just amazing food. The last time I ate there was last year. I think actually around this time because I was coming back from Burning Man.
Right.
And I stopped at, my thing is like, I have to stop at In-N-Out Burger. I stopped at somewhere in Arizona, I believe, or Colorado.
Yeah.
And I ate 2 meals there.
Oh,
it was
my goodness.
so good. It's like, this is probably the last time in a while I eat this.
Right. I want to try it. I have become the biggest burger snob I think that I know. So my whole thing with burgers is one thing that I think makes our burgers different and makes our food, or at least our burgers in general, superior to a lot of other burgers is we season them pretty well. Like we mix the seasoning in when we're like mixing up the meat and making it into patties. And what that does is it gives it like a very even and consistent flavor distribution. And we season it well. So like when you bite into the burger, you taste the burger and it's not just the toppings that you taste. Like the toppings are actually complementing the actual meat itself. Mm-hmm. And I go to so many restaurants now and I bite into the burger and the burger is bland.
Yeah, it's just a ground beef.
Essentially that's what it tastes like. Mm-hmm. And it's not like seasoned ground beef either. It's just like kind of just tastes like mush, really.
Yeah, they pad meat together. Like,
and there's a lot of places that do that. Honestly, one of the only chain places in town. Like I've had Red Robin, that's trash. Mm-hmm. Their burgers are trash, at least. I like their steak fries. But one of the places that I think you can actually like enjoy a good burger, privately owned, my favorite is by far is Blind Rabbit, and corporate Five Guys has good burgers.
Well, about Five Guys, I read an interesting article about them that out of all the for fast food restaurants, out of all the restaurants you can eat, that's the highest quality food.
It is highest. People have been complaining about the price, but here's the thing: if I like want a good burger, like sometimes I want to eat trash, and I'll go to McDonald's. And
last time I went to Taco Bell.
That's I do not bash those restaurants because they're for a very specific purpose. When you
once in a while, it's like, fuck it, I want something
exactly.
bad.
But when I want a good burger, but I kind of want it like fast foody, like I don't want to like sit down at a nice restaurant or something. And also, I don't think there's a lot of nice restaurants in Jax who serve a really good burger. I think they're few, and you have to know which ones they are.
Kickbacks used to. It's like
I'm always scared. Well, actually, if I'm craving a burger, I'm always scared. But like, yeah, no. Five Guys has some quality food. I will pay the money to get that food because sometimes I do crave a burger. Honestly, like there are 2 food trucks in town that I think serve really good burgers. One of them's us. I stand by our food because like that's the thing is like I'll crave my own food, so I'll like eat at work or whatever. But there's another guy named his name is Anthony. He owns a truck called Kakilakis. I'll like instead of like going to fast food, sometimes I'll just find out where he is and go get a burger from him because his are really good too. But yeah, I've totally become a burger snob, and it's not good because it makes me like I wish I didn't care as much. But
well, the thing is like if you're in your type of profession, but I feel like it's kind of like in any profession. Like say for example, if you're a computer engineer,
sure,
you start getting, I won't say snobby, but you know what to look for in a product.
It's actually what I went to school for before.
Yeah.
I transferred down here to computer engineering. That helped me with the wiring stuff.
That makes sense, yeah. Like, you know how to take care of the hardware and the software.
A little bit.
At least you don't have to pay for someone to do that.
I'm so thankful.
All right. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
Oh, my goodness. So, first of all, this is who I am as a person, but like I would eat out all 3 meals of the day. Like I would eat out for breakfast at a good place. I mean, I have a bunch of places in mind, but it doesn't matter. Realistically, it doesn't matter. I would eat out all 3 meals. At lunch, I would watch a Vikings game during lunch. Minnesota Vikings, go Vikings. Plug for them. Or really just any football. Like I love watching sports. I just think it's super fun. When you're at the restaurant and you're having that experience, one of my favorite things to do is during football season, go to like Miller's Ale House and watch a game.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
And again, it doesn't totally matter. I enjoy just that whole experience. Probably between breakfast and lunch, I would be at home playing League of Legends. No. We'll mix it up. So breakfast at like a good like pancake house. And we're gonna nap till lunch. Then we're gonna go to lunch and watch a football game. The football game is gonna get over like 3 or 4 o'clock. Probably go home, chill a little bit. Go maybe play some video games. Then we're gonna go to dinner, and after dinner I get home and we're gonna play some League of Legends. Where I actually have something going on tonight. I have a group of friends that I met through GLHF that we play like pickup games. League of Legends is like a 5-on-5 online game. And so a lot of times it's hard to coordinate that, but it's super fun when you can get 5 of your friends and then 5 more of your friends and you guys play against each other a bunch. I don't know. It's basically, that would be my perfect day. It's a mix of video games, maybe a nap, some football, and a lot of eating at different restaurants. It's pretty vague, but like that is literally the perfect day.
No, because you wear the details. Like, breakfast, go to a nice pancake house.
The most important part, though, is like eating out, because actually that is one of the things in life that just brings me the most happiness is eating out. I mean, whether it's alone and I can just enjoy like a peaceful meal, or whether it's with my girlfriend where we can laugh and have a good time and joke around. Whether it's with my family, like that's something that brings me so much joy in life, and it's kind of why I do what I do, is because I really believe in the power of meals to bring people together.
Of course, like we said earlier, like meals are an integral part of culture.
Absolutely,
you need a good meal.
Yeah, in any country, really. Like I think
anywhere.
It's
Well, the late great Anthony Bourdain. I haven't watched once in a while I will watch his shows, but last show I watched was my grandmother's when he was in Israel and then he went to Palestine. Right. And when he was in Palestine, where they had that big dish where there's no plates. It's just a massive dish.
Sure.
And you eat with your hands.
I think I've heard of that.
And it's like, and the thing is, he said like, yeah, it's kind of dirty, but this is part of culture, and this is how you share and break bread with someone.
Absolutely.
All right. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
Oh boy. How many people you ask this to, and they're like, I wouldn't change anything.
I think there's a few.
Really?
Yeah. Some people had like a good upbringing. Like, no, yeah, my parents did a good job. Yeah, they made mistakes, but it wasn't too bad of a mistakes and wasn't like detrimental.
I'm very happy with how I was raised. Like, I also don't think I have perfect parents. And there were things I changed about myself, but like, I guess like ever since like Joyshtick, I've been really content with who I am as a person, because I've like it kind of teaches you a lot about yourself to have. It's essentially like having a kid, like this baby that I have, this food truck. You learn so much about yourself when you're trying to like really do a good job of managing and running that. That I'm pretty aware of the areas that like the things that I don't like about myself, or that like I want to improve on, but I'm also pretty aware of the things that I do well, and like I'm really proud of the areas where I'm strong, or the things that like I do very well, and I really enjoy those things about myself, and I think a lot of those are because of the way I was raised. And the things that I don't do well, I don't look as like, I don't look at them as things that make me less of a person, or like detract from who I am. I look at them as things that bring me more challenges in life, and things that I can overcome. But as far as like how I was raised, I just think it has so much to do with who I am now, and because of how much I like who I am now, I don't think I would change anything. I'm very happy with where my circumstances have brought me. Even the tough things I went through, I think, were essential in shaping me as a person. So I don't think I'd change anything.
It's a healthy thing to say. Like, it's actually pretty...
Right. I've never... And I mean, it's not just like I'm awesome. It's just like I like the things that I like. For example, I like that I like restaurants. The downside to that is, I'm kind of chubby, and like it might bring health problems later, but I like that about, like, I really like restaurants, and I like that I like restaurants.
Well, there's this, what episode? There was this podcast I love to listen to. It's called Freakonomics.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
Very familiar with Freakonomics.
They did a cool episode where this woman actually, was it burgers or pizza? Yes, he did burgers. That she was trying to find, I forgot what city. Let's say Chicago. She lived in Chicago, and I'm trying to remember the episode correctly. But she did this, like, she wanted to judge burgers and rank them, like, in Chicago, like McDonald's, sure. Also the local places. I figured out what was the best burger. And what she did was, for health wise, she did 2 times a week. Mm-hmm. And she would get the full meal and stuff to judge them. And she'll judge them off of different categories, sure. Like presentation, flavor,
right,
what came with it. But she would do that 2 times a week, and she would balance it out by like eating healthy.
Sure.
But she said the interesting part was, even that she lost a lot of weight and her health got a lot better. But when she got back to eating normal, her health kind of like degraded a little bit.
Right.
It was all about like what she found out was all about moderation. It's like, yeah, you eat the bad stuff, but most of the time you should eat like a salad or something.
Right. And for me, it's like I will just be the first to say I'm not good at moderation, mm-hmm. And I'm sure it'll come back to and I'm sure there's a time I'll like, see it as important and step it up. But like, I work really hard and I sweat a whole lot. And when I'm mm-hmm. working, I am not hungry and I don't eat because
you're working.
You're just in the middle of it. So when I'm not at work, like on my days off, I like to eat. Like, I like to eat. I don't really get a chance to work. So I'm trying. Like, I'm literally in the middle of, like, trying to figure out where I want to go eat tonight after this.
I think tonight I'm just going to cook. What's the next question? Oh, this is a fun one. If you wake up tomorrow and gain any power or ability, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. This one's hard. Man, I feel like being able to fly is just like, I know that's a really like vanilla answer, but I feel like it's clearly the best superpower, because like you're able to do something that you've never been able, that nobody can do.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that there's just so many implications to that, but I think, yeah, being able to fly would actually be like the best.
Well, like I was talking to my mom. It's like I told her I love animals. I love pets.
Sure.
But I don't think I can never own a bird, because like I feel like it's a sin to keep them caged. Like you get
sure.
like that's like they have like a great.
I don't know.
Like a build, like yeah, they have a great like a not a gift. I don't want to say gift, but I have a great ability. Like they actually have flight. It's like I think it's a sin to put them in a cage.
Right, where they can never use it.
Yeah,
that's true.
My thing is like I'll probably, if I do get a bird, I think I'll just get like one of those small parakeets that you can actually put on your shoulder, keep them as like a small parrot or something.
Right.
But if they're meant to fly, I think just enjoy them in the wild.
Sure.
Like I don't think they're meant to ever to be domesticated.
Yeah.
It's not like a dog or a cat or a pet pig.
Yeah,
actually, that'd be cool. I actually want to get a pet.
Would be super cool.
A little. I love this show called this cartoon called Gravity Falls.
I've actually never heard of it.
Dude, it's like well, I worked for Disney. They had like on the channel, you could actually watch a couple of the shows, and I started watching this cartoon because I was bored. It's called Gravity Falls, and it's such an endearing cartoon. It's like X-Files meets a cartoon, but like this like really fun and real well written cartoon, and the two main characters are twins. They're fraternal twins, so the brother and sister, and the sister had a pet pig called Waddles. And I fell in love with that show. Like, man, I really want a pig and name it Waddles.
Yeah, that's a good
because of that show.
Pig.
But it's an amazing show. If anybody has never seen it, I actually had to illegally download the full 2 seasons, because it only had 2 seasons. And the creator of the show that like, he did a smart thing, which I respect for writers who actually have good TV shows.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to end it now, because if we keep continuing, it's just going to get bad. It's like we're going to keep recycling. We're going to start recycling stories, and the plot's not going to make sense. Like, no, I think there's an end game to it.
Sure.
And I respect like people who actually, writers actually do that.
They'll just stretch it, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like my big thing was I love Battlestar Galactica.
Sure.
When it came out, and I like the fact that I decided like, no, we're going to end the show on our terms, and we know the show needs to come to an end. So like this, they voluntarily said like we're going to end it on this season.
Sure.
So that way we could conclude the story. What, if anything, is too serious to be joked about?
I don't think anything's too serious to be joked about. I think it's just a matter of I think it's a matter of not hurting somebody else with your jokes. Mm-hmm. I think any joke can be funny, but I think it's not too difficult to try to be, because I'm fine with making fun of people, and even like, I enjoy comedians who like will like roast someone in the crowd. That's like,
well, I think that's
fine.
I think that's a good nature though.
I think everybody kind of has a line though, but I think there are times where, because I know a friend, I don't really know if he's a friend anymore, but someone I know was the night of the shooting. He was in we have like a food truck group on Facebook, but he said something like, I won't be offering my services to video game tournaments anymore, and he was like kind of joking, but it's like, because those were my people. Like the night of a shooting, to post that in a Facebook group where, he maybe should have been a little more sensitive and know that like I'm in the group. Like I'm not like, I wasn't like crying or anything, but I just thought it was a real dick move.
Yeah.
And so I think a joke, in order for it to actually be funny, I feel like it has to be, I don't know, it has to actually be funny. And I don't think that joke was funny.
I think there's also a time and place for it too. It's
right.
Like, you know why I make that joke right then and there.
I don't think there's anything that's too serious to be joked about. I just think you have to be a little more sensitive about, just use some just basic discretion, really. Yeah.
It's like when I gave that question out, a lot of people say the same thing but a different variation of it.
Sure.
They're all about like, well, some of them are specific. One person's like cancer because they had someone they love die of cancer. But then they actually most of them say the same things like, yeah, you can make fun of anything, but also it's like you got to not do something malicious. Or
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even think it has I think sometimes even if you have good intentions, but if you carry about your good intentions unwisely or without being careful, I think that's still like, because this guy could come back and say like, I didn't mean anything. It's like, it doesn't take back the fact that it was hurtful.
Yeah.
Like
the best thing in that situation, if you said it, just own up to it. Like, you know what? I said it.
Right.
And my intentions were this and this and this, A and B. But I take responsibility for it. I'm sorry if I hurt you.
So I called him on it. I was like, I wasn't like a dick or anything. I was like, that's uncool, man. Not very appropriate. I think I posted something along those lines, and he texted, or he posted in the Facebook group. He's like, well, that's just your perspective. And it's like, okay.
I hate when fucking people do that. I really do hate that.
But then he texts me, and he was like telling me about how like, the world's a bad place, and that I need to not be so sensitive. And it's like, dude, like I'm not like wallowing. I'm not like crying or anything. It's just I thought what he said was just super, just not what you not. It wasn't even for me personally. I just don't think it's very respectful. And so I think, I mean, yeah, I think people should just take ownership because, like, even if he thought it was hilarious, that's fine. I think he, like you said, he also needs to take responsibility for the fact that maybe he hurt someone's feelings. Like,
yeah,
he's not it doesn't make him a shit person for making a joke. It's just like also like try to be cool to people around you. So, yeah,
that's true. What conspiracy theories do you believe in?
Oh boy. I don't think I used to believe in a lot of conspiracy theories until, and I don't even know if they're considered conspiracy theories, but until I owned a business and you kind of see the other side of a lot of business ownership, I've started to like see a lot of things the government does as like more intentional.
How so?
Like, I don't necessarily believe the news when they like say this is what happened.
Yeah.
That's really it's not anything like wild. It's like, for example, everybody has this perception that a business is doing like super well because all they post on Facebook is like, for food trucks, it's like they just post like everyone loves our food, like we're awesome, come eat our food. And then like, from behind the curtain, as another business owner, I'll see that truck and like I'll see either the way they make their food or how they handle their business, and I was like, these guys aren't that great. So like everybody tries to make things appear better than they are, and so how that applies for me is like, for example, for those of you who don't know, every restaurant probably in Florida has roaches. Every single one.
Yeah, I don't think like you can stop roaches.
You can do your best to keep them out, and you can like try to limit them and like
clean up.
You can do everything you can, but at the end of the day, they're probably somewhere.
There's gonna be one asshole roach there.
Yeah, maybe it's one, maybe it's more, maybe they're like, in a space where the health inspector can't see, but then people jump on all these restaurants for like, when the inspector walks in and does see a couple. It's like people's perception of restaurants is that they're all clean, none of them have roaches, they all do things correctly. But then you'll start reading the restaurant like inspections and see, oh, this person's food was too warm or whatever. Like the stuff they were keeping in the cooler is too warm.
Oh, okay.
And people will look at those restaurants and be like, that's a shit restaurant. When in reality, it's like everybody has those same problems. It's just how well you can hide it. So that how that applies to conspiracy is when I see somebody, whether it's an individual or whether it's the government, try to appear like they have everything together, my assumption is that there's like manipulation going on. And so, for example, with like anything in politics where, right, like I don't believe in the goodness and wholeness of people or things anymore. That's my conspiracy. I guess to say is like, you know, whatever I see on the news, I always assume something worse.
Yeah, it's like, well, we're living in kind of like a weird age because, well, I think that's a problem that's always been going on in humanity.
Right, no, I'm sure.
But I think it's just like a magnified problem now because of social media and stuff. Because this is like we're in a new, this is a brand new problem that has never happened before in history.
Tries to appear a certain way to the public, and social media gives them an avenue to do that.
Yep.
But so I guess I've just become in general more cynical.
I think it's just living like a sincere life, like with flaws and all, boils and all exposed. Like, you know what, we're having problems. It's life. We are in the process of solving them, but it's just going to take time, and we'll do our best.
Yeah,
but it's just like a good example. Like you mentioned that, like Instagram models. Like I love the Chive.
Oh yeah. Like
I really do love that app. You know what the Chive is?
I know of it.
Well, Bill Murray's like a big. I think he's kind of like not their spokesperson, but I won't even say figurehead, but he's kind of like
he's associated with.
They kind of like associated, but I think they're more he's a mascot for them. But I love the Chive. Like I look at that app every day. I love the little articles to send out.
Sure.
But I kind of skipped like the Instagram model ones because like I look at them. I don't even like looking at Instagram models because I feel like they're not portraying like a real woman.
Actually, now that you mention that, it's funny. Because there's like suggested like people you follow or whatever, and like we used some software in the beginning to like get a bunch of followers where like it's this app that like follows people and then hopefully they follow you back. But there was some person we follow who's like super attractive, and like for me it's kind of fun, both on a male testosterone level.
Yeah, it's like
and just because I'm super curious is to like follow her stories every day, and she's like one of those tits out for the boys like Instagram models. But like as I like, it's been like a few months now since I started like watching her stories. They're all the same, and like what I've noticed is with those kinds of people, they post a lot and it's always about themselves first of all.
Yeah, it's a narcissism.
So it's completely narcissistic, which, at first when you see it, you're like attracted to that person. But then like after a month, you're like, this person's absolutely obsessed with themselves. But then you see things like, they have a lot of beauty just physically. I'm talking about girls specifically right now, but they have a lot of beauty, and it's just like, but they want to emphasize the part of them that gets the most viewers. And so you'll see them take pictures from an angle that'll emphasize certain body parts. Like I'll look at the picture and I was like, literally 60% is this showing your tits.
Yeah.
And like their face will be like up kind of like in the very top of the photo, but like the camera's essentially pointed straight at their tits. And like, it's one of those things where, I don't know, it just makes me mad at the end of the day, because I think people who know they're attractive, because in this case, it's like, you're attractive and you're trying to milk it, and it's obviously working, but like, well, it kind of makes me angry.
Well, a good example of that, I resigned from my job yesterday because I'm starting a new job on Monday. I don't want to say not this Monday, but next Monday. And I don't want to say the company's name, but like, I struggled for the past year because my business failed, so I've been trying to go back into work.
Sure.
So I have bounced around, and I worked at a car dealership recently.
Sure. And
I just got the hell out of there. I want to get the hell out of there fast as I can, because the pay they told us that I was going through training, they were going to give us, technically it was correct up front, but I'm not talking about them taking out taxes. They took out money for like our shirts, our textbooks. Like it doesn't make sense. And then one girl I was working with, she came in a couple of months before me. She questioned the guy because she kept getting money taken out.
Sure.
For her paycheck. It's like, man, we can't survive off these paychecks. It's like, why are you taking out? Because I never got any shirts. I just wear dresses to work. It's like, so what are you charging me with? And he made up some bullshit answer. He walked away, and then one of the veteran guys who works at the dealership was listening to it, and he said, like, that was completely far from right. Like, that did not make sense what he just said. I gotta go check my pay stub now.
And you didn't even know, but they were... Yeah,
well, going back to that, like, I just want to get out there as fast as I can because, like, one, I don't think if you're working 70, 80 hours a week, you should be struggling for money.
No, you shouldn't.
Or be worrying, like, about paying the bills.
70 or 80, it doesn't matter what you're making. You should be okay.
Yeah, you should be okay and, like, not be worrying about money. And the second thing was, there was this woman there. Her nickname was Costa Rican Barbie.
Wow.
Very beautiful woman.
Sure.
But like at first I was like, man, I don't want to fall into that. I don't want to be biased. Cause she was a very beautiful woman, small, petite woman with big fake tits.
Yeah.
Nice ass, blonde hair. And the rumors were that she was fucking a couple of managers. She came in and told people like, yeah, I'm just here looking for a sugar daddy. And then it's one thing if you hear one or two people say it, then you hear most of everyone say the same thing. Like the managers were letting her off easy. They're giving her sales.
I'm sure.
And it was kind of like, you see that, it's like, you know, you're making it, it's the management's fault because I think the general manager was doing it too.
Sure.
Like you basically giving her money for being attractive.
Yeah.
Everyone else is suffering for working.
Right.
But she's getting by easy because she's probably giving out a couple of blowjobs.
Sure.
And that was kind of like the rumors. I'm not sure that was true or not. But she was caught like feeding food to one of the managers, and he's married, and it was just a weird atmosphere.
Right.
But going back to the whole Instagram thing, it's like, you know, I don't want to talk down about those models too, because they may love the model and they found an avenue of doing it.
You can go ahead and do it. I think if you're thriving off narcissism, you can be taken down a couple times,
it's like, my thing is like, man, I just rather I want an attractive woman.
But it's not a skill. It's not.
Yeah, I want an attractive woman, but also too, it's like, I need something more than just looks. Like, I want someone with a personality, intelligence. I don't think if you just take, oh, this is what I ate today, or hey, look at this picture at this angle, like you said earlier.
Right. I don't know. It's just like one thing when you can like, when it's subtle, but there's just another thing when it's like, you see the girl is just like pointing the camera straight at, taking a video and just like doing up, down of your body. I don't know. I just was like, not impressed.
My thing is too, like, it was something I kind of learned from dating. When you look at a Facebook profile, like, one thing, this is true. Like, this
is this catfishing? Is that what we're talking about?
Not catfishing, but like, there's a book I keep mentioning on the podcast this is where I get the questions from.
Sure.
The name of the book is called Snoop.
Sure.
And there's more to that title, but it's written by a social psychologist. Really great book. I love the book. But he basically is like how you could tell someone's personality by their
you can too.
By their Facebook profile, by their bedroom, by their car, by their office. You could tell their personality.
You can.
Like if they're extroverts, introverts, organized or not.
I do. Yeah. Like you look at someone's profile, if like you see them post every couple hours, it's a little bit different than someone who's like doesn't post in months.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's that, and like one, you're looking for attention. If you gotta post every few hours, or post something stupid, or take pictures.
You get the selfies with the quotes.
Yeah, and the big thing I was trying to get to about that, you just mentioned it, was the selfies. Like if I see a girl with a lot of selfies on her profile picture, that's
a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. Like I'd rather have a girl like, yes, she has a lot of pictures up, but there's a lot of pictures with her friends or her dog or something like that.
Generally, it's totally normal when girls take pictures with their friends.
Yeah, it's like with their friends. They're social. They're being social.
Like especially when I get dragged into those pictures.
But like you kind of understand, like okay, she's being
completely
social.
Normal. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you see that just selfies upon selfies, like okay, no,
you also gotta figure out if at that point if she has friends, because girls don't have friends. If this is a girl with not very many friends, She's crazy.
Oh, one, and also a bad sign too, and I found this out the hard way, was if she has to have male friends.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Big mistake
funny.
with my ex-fiance with that one. Like, she has to
Right. Especially if she's adamant on it.
I have to be one with one of the guys. I'm like, now I learn.
That's weird though.
Yeah, now I learned along.
We were at some college church group thing. There was a girl who was like, yeah, I just have a lot of male friends. And I was just like, oh, yeah, you know what that means.
I'm like, there's nothing wrong with like having friends of the opposite sex. But like, if you say,
I think it's generally if like most of your friends, well, this might be a little harsh, but I feel like it's fairly true. Like if most of your friends are male as a girl, because I feel like girls shouldn't have a huge problem making female friends. But if most of your friends are male, it's generally like you looking for attention a lot.
Yeah, now it's sex. I'm like, it's nothing wrong if you want to have sex, but hey, don't fucking don't lie to yourself and don't lie to your boyfriend. It's like, oh, I just want to be with one of the guys.
Right. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, this is one I haven't asked in a while. If you can travel in time into the future or the past, what would it be and why?
Oh, I would for sure travel to the future.
Yeah,
I would like to see specifically what happens to the joystick. Whether we just, because there is a reality in which I would get a degree and move on to a different career. Mm-hmm. Like, that's totally possible. I'm just super curious. The first thing I would do is I want to see where the business ends up, because it was, because of our past, I'm already impressed at how far we've made it.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
I'd be super. And, like, I'm the first one to tell you, like, I'd be super curious to see what my career ends up at in, like, 20 years. So that's what I do. More out of curiosity than anything else. Like, I'm kind of along for the ride, but...
You see, it's like, oh, okay, it's better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I know. Like, well, I mean, like, we're already at that point where it's like, it's better than I thought it was going to be. So, like, anything above that's, like, a bonus, right?
Yeah, everything above that. All right, when was the first time you fell in love and the first time you had your heart broken?
Oh, boy. I think the first person I really loved, was the girl I'm currently dating.
Oh.
And it's not that I haven't dated girls before. I just don't think we really had much depth to a relationship, whereas the girl I'm dating now, I feel like, like right now, she's like my best friend, and like, we just connect really well. And I feel like we have a lot of the elements of a relationship where, like, we do have problems, but we talk them out. Like, I just feel like it's a real mature relationship, and I feel like I choose to love her daily. I think love's a choice. So I think this is, like, the first time I've really chosen to love somebody. Getting my heart broken. I think the Vikings do that to me every year. Every year. So, man, I guess
Well, they came close to the Super Bowl last year, right?
Still broke my heart.
Well, the Jaguars are the same.
I don't think I've had any, like, real... I had some girl in college that... In college, like, when I was dating, it was narcissistic of me, because I was, like, very determined to have a relationship to make myself feel better about myself. Mm-hmm. And so I had, like, an 8-month relationship, and when she broke up with me, it was, like, extra devastating because... it was like the whole relationship essentially was serving myself by, like, I would, feel better about myself that I had a girlfriend. So, like, that felt like heartbreak. I don't think it was, like, real heartbreak. I think real heartbreak happens to people who are, like, who are choosing to love each other, and then, like, something terrible happens. And so I really will say, like, I don't think I've experienced, like, true heartbreak.
Well, I like what you said, like, you were in a relationship that was kind of like self-serving yourself. Right. That thing with the ex-fiance, I kind of realized, I think it was half and half. Like, I didn't want to be alone.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I didn't want to be alone. And I think I've chosen the wrong woman to do that.
Sure.
With. But also throughout the years, too, I realized it was also the other half to it, too. It's like, I really did love her at the same time. Sure. It was like a really weird thing. Like, you know what?
And yeah, I definitely cared about this girl. I just don't think it was, like, as mature as the one I'm in now. Mm-hmm. Not, like, nearly. And, but what felt like heartbreak was the fact that, like, when you put all your chips in that basket, and then that person just she had total freedom to do this. She just decided she didn't want to be in a relationship anymore with me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's totally fine. That's what dating's for, right?
Yeah.
And so like, she had all the right to do that, but I felt so hurt and betrayed because, you know, all my effort and all my like self-worth was in that basket that it felt extra bad. And so that's part of how I matured as a person, is I had to kind of go back and realize that about myself, is that I was kind of, it was unhealthy for me. I think, well, I guess it ultimately ended up being healthy for me to like go through that, but I wasn't treating the relationship like I should have been. So,
well, it's part of growing up.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
This is stuff that you can't learn in books or in class.
Right.
Like, this is stuff you have to actually live through.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a spiritual or profound experience?
Yes, I'm just deciding which direction I want to take this. So I grew up in the church, very, very conservative, and I don't think I'm as conservative now.
What's your Pentecostal, Baptist?
No, Pentecostal is way way less conservative. It's basically Baptist. That was kind of my background. It's the denomination is called Evangelical Free Church, and my dad's a pastor. Currently, he travels around to different churches.
Cool.
Well, essentially what he does is like a church will like lose a pastor, generally because of like politics or conflict or something, and he'll go in and preach until they find a new one, while also trying to like solve the problems they had that caused the other pastor to go.
Cool. That's actually a pretty interesting
Yeah,
position,
it's
though.
a super interesting job. Like, I thought I really like what he does, but even when he was a preacher, he started as a lawyer, and then what happened was our church pastor like had an affair and was booted, and so he stepped in and was interim, and everybody liked it. And his preaching style is very analytical, is what I would say.
No, it makes sense. He's a lawyer.
I really like it. Like, and it was all in Minnesota, so Christianity in general in Minnesota is a little more stoic because, you know, you got that Nordic stoicism up there.
The Nordics.
Yeah, it's
so
Scandinavian stoicism.
Yeah.
But essentially, I came to know Jesus, and I know some of that is all Christian jargon, and I'll kind of go into it. But when I was in late high school, I kind of had a realization, because I really, you know, the prayer everyone says when they're a Christian, like the I accepted Jesus into my life prayer, or like, you know, some people it's they raise their hand in a service, or whatever experience you want to have. I had one of those experiences where I was really young, and I thought, oh, I'm a Christian now because I said yes to that question they asked me, or whatever it is. And my life didn't change at all, as is the case for many people who claim to be Christians now, is their lives don't change at all, and they're still selfish, and they're still a jerk to people, whatever it is. Like, their lives don't experience any change that you'd think someone who has actually encountered a good, loving God would experience. And I had this realization, like my senior year of high school, that my life hadn't changed at all, and that really knowing Jesus and following Jesus and like being what a real Christian is supposed to be involves giving yourself completely to the idea that you are sinful or you are flawed, and that God essentially forgave you for that. And like that feeling, that peace, that like joy that you get from that, from finally being able to release the fact that you don't have to like behave or perform or obtain any sort of like moral standing, that freedom is kind of where all the loving other people should come from. So like when you see Christians, or if you meet people who claim to be Christians who are actually kind and actually like honest and truthful and sincere and demonstrate qualities that you would associate with someone who actually loves Jesus, that comes from their appreciation from what God did for them. And so I had that. It was a very spiritual experience in the sense that like it was one of those snap realizations where your whole life kind of changes. And I had that happen to me. And ever since, I mean, I'm obviously not perfect and I do mean shit all the time and I'm selfish all the time. But part of it is realizing the fact that I'm not perfect and taking steps to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the actual spiritual part is seeing God put circumstances and people in my life that you wouldn't even expect that have led to like me changing as a person. For example, that breakup I talked about in college, where like it shaped a lot of how I saw myself, and even like I guess the self-esteem that I have now, I attribute that all like it might have been very gradual, but I attribute that all to God putting circumstances and people in my life that have just helped me change for the better. So I think that experience when I was in late high school has kind of been one of the most significant moments of my life.
Well, the thing is, like, some people might look at that and think like, oh, he did that when he was young. You might have misread something. But my thing is too, it's like kind of like how you handle yourself, especially with that business. Like, I think that may have either that or your upbringing made you more mature earlier. Because
I wasn't mature until I think the business did. Like, legit.
Well, the thing is, like, you need to have like a mature framework to do what you're doing, even if you need to recognize at the time. Because like, it really just I am really just astounded and impressed that like you did, especially your problem solving skills. Like, oh shit, well, we can't afford the $25,000 truck, but here, this is what we'll do. I'll give you $10,000 now, and
right, and even tying that to the spiritual experience aspect, kind of my motto when I was going through the first year is like, because I was stressed all the time. Like,
yeah,
I didn't have it together. I didn't have it together when I was dealing with it. My motto was like, I'm going to do everything in my power, and then what happens is kind of like up to God, or like whatever. Personally, whatever you like use to justify the random things happen in the world, the rest is up to that. In my case, I believe God controls the rest of my circumstances. But my thought was like, not just like, I'm going to pray and hope everything goes well. It's like, I'm going to wake up, or a lot of times it was like, I'm going to wake up an hour earlier today to work harder because I need to do everything in my power to give this the best chance to succeed. But in the end, I'm not in control. And so that's why I really like, in a way, I look back on what happened and I was like, it all kind of was a miracle, because even though I did put in all that effort, a lot of it easily couldn't have worked out. I could be dead now from like, you know, like the wheel falling off. Like, that could have killed me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying is like, I would even say like, I have very little to do with the fact that the truck is where it is now, because I just did my part. So the rest, I think, is God's blessing on the business.
It's a good way of looking at that. Oh, here's a good one. What are you proud of but never had an excuse to talk about it?
Oh boy. Oh, this is also easy. My card magic skills.
Yeah.
I'm super proud of that, but it's super nerdy to talk about.
No, I think it's such a cool thing.
So like when you bring it up though, like you can't, I learned early on when I was doing it, you can't just like ask someone, you want to see a magic trick? But like I would get so excited about these magic tricks that I learned that it's like, please somebody ask me to show you a card trick. Because I feel such a jerk when I'm like, please let me show you a magic trick. So like one of the things, and like I'm going to say like there were a couple skills within card magic because of just the way my brain works that I was able to figure out really fast that a lot of magicians who have been doing it for a long time still can't do. And so I was like mad proud of that. And then it was so hard to talk about or to do, I guess.
Well, I know I try to do a couple sliding hand tricks, but I know how to make a business card disappear.
Right. Is it the thing with the hand where you like pull it behind your hand?
Yeah.
So, that was like one of the first things I practiced. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's a fun little trick.
That's where it started for me. That's where the addiction started. Is like doing things like that, and then it got to like some of like mind games kind of stuff.
My thing is like I feel like in the future, don't say anything. It's like when you're just talking to someone, like, hey, I want to show you something. Just pull out a couple of cards,
Right.
and just do it.
Man.
Don't elaborate. Just like
I
let them be
found
surprised.
ways, but I will say that is the thing that I'm very proud of that I don't often get to like show off. So,
All right. What
that's
is
a good
your
question.
all right, what is your most treasured memory?
Most treasured memory? Ooh, that one's easy too. I moved down here from Minnesota in, man, was it 2014 or 2015?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what year it was, but I was in a bad situation. Well, looking back, it wasn't that bad, but I was working at a place I did not want to work at.
Mm.
It was a Christian Bible camp, but they were not very nice. Because I was working as a cook, and I had told them when I got the interview, like, I don't have very much experience, but they were just so desperate for someone to do it that they hired me. And I had two people above me, and they both tried to teach me. One of them was a lot more patient than the other one, and the one that wasn't very patient made my life very difficult and stressful, and I hated it. And it's really hard to have the beliefs I do, like, to, like, say that, like, when someone else identifies as a Christian and I identify as a Christian, I sort of have, and I gotta change this about myself, but I have some, like, standards where I, like, expect them to at least, like, you know, have a certain level of, like, empathy, or, like, just treat me a certain way. You know?
I feel like if
we have that in common, I expect to be like,
I feel like if you're in any type of religion, you should, especially you saying like, okay, I'm a Christian, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm a Jew, or Buddhist. All of them have the kind of the same standard. Like, yeah, you need to be compassionate to your neighbor.
You would think, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, that made it worse to where this, like, lady wasn't treating me very well, or I thought she was a terrible boss.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it worse because, like, you're supposed to be a Christian, so I expect you to, you know, at least be compassionate and empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
And she was not. And so I guess the worst part was I was at the point where, like, I was living at the camp for the first leg of it, and they needed me to move out into an apartment, and that's like a commitment to, like, I think usually like at least a year. And so I was at the point where I either needed to get out or commit to working there for another year. And the place I was, or like where I was at in life, I was like, no, I do not want to do this anymore. And so I made a decision to eventually quit. They asked me to stay and work for like another like 30 days or something to help them get through a particular season and find a replacement. And I did that, which I don't think they appreciated me enough for. I think I could have easily just said, no, see you later. But I did not. My brother flew up from Florida because my family had moved from Minnesota to Jacksonville a few years prior, and they were living here. My brother Alec flew up, and we both road tripped down from Minnesota to Florida. We extended it to like a 3-day road trip, and we stopped in Atlanta and Madison, and I have friends in Madison, friends in Atlanta, and it was just a very, very fun road trip. First of all, we just enjoyed our time together, and I enjoyed the stops we made a lot, and that's where I first experienced Battle and Brew, and so that was super cool. But also, for me, it was a very good closure experience for the camp, and it was a really great beginning to kind of the new opportunities that Jacksonville presented to me. So it was just a great transition, and I think that's what made the experience so great, and just the bonding moments I had with my brother. And yeah, I think that's the one that sticks out the most to me.
Okay. Oh, that's actually a pretty nice one, though.
Yeah, no, it's a good memory.
All right. If you knew you were going to die in 1 year, would you change anything about the way you were living?
I would probably I would put more into my life insurance policies.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. Just purely from a financial perspective. Like, obviously, I don't need the money at that point, you know? Man, I think I would probably spend more time with people that I, like, cared about. I think sometimes I do take my relationships and friendships for granted. I think I do a good job of spending time with my girlfriend and my family. I just think there's friends of mine that I probably would spend more time with.
Okay.
Other than that, it's like I don't know what else I would really... I would probably get the business in a place to where my 2 employees can run it without me. So
I think that's the goal for like most business owners. Like,
right.
Get it where you can actually work on some other stuff.
We're starting on that. It's with a food truck where it's like it's kind of a one-man show for most of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little hard to like hand it off.
But you're on the way of doing it.
We are on the way, yes.
What's the biggest sacrifice you made?
Biggest like ever?
Yeah.
I don't think I've had to sacrifice a whole lot. I guess in more of a like obscure sense, I have sort of sacrificed like the paycheck and the 9-to-5 lifestyle I could have had when I like changed majors from engineering and like started trying to pursue the service industry. I think realistically I could have, when I was going to school in Minnesota, I could have maybe taken some time off, but went back and like toughed it out, maybe gotten a computer science degree, maybe a business degree. But I really liked the food industry and I wanted to pursue that. So I think I sort of make a sacrifice every day choosing that over a very stable desk job. But I think in other ways, there's ups and downs to everything. So in a way, it's not necessarily a sacrifice because there's perks. And maybe someday it won't be. Like, maybe there will be more stability at some point. But I think it's kind of more of a lifestyle sacrifice than like a physical one-time thing.
Okay. Well, you're doing like an amazing thing, though.
Right.
It's
So
really cool.
Like I said, there's ups, but I think the downs is sacrificing like consistency and financial stability.
Yeah, but like,
it's worth it. Don't get me wrong.
I told my best friend about this. A lot of times there's far more of a risk playing it safe, and than actually going after something you really want.
Yeah. No, I one of the things I always said was you got to risk it to get the biscuit.
Biscuit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last question. I ask this question to everyone.
Okay.
What's the worst thing you ever done in your life, and what is the best thing you have ever done in your life?
The worst. I'm definitely gonna start with worst thing. Oh, yeah. Man, that probably is the worst thing I've ever done. So it's still not that bad because I don't think I can think of anything just like hella bad. But there was my cat at the time. I was living with my parents here in Jacksonville, and it was fighting with some possums underneath our porch. Or no, they were raccoons.
Okay.
So there were raccoons kind of like living under our porch, and one of them was like hissing at my cat. I went into our garage and I got a broomball stick, which broomball is a sport they play up north. Basically, what you need to know is the stick is long and has like a rubber end that's very, very hard. And the other raccoons ran off, but there was a baby raccoon under the deck, and I beat that baby raccoon to death with a broomball stick. What? And then flung it into the woods. I'm a cold-blooded killer. And, yeah, don't mess with me. No, but I felt so terrible about it. Like, oh, man. Yeah, even thinking about that now makes my stomach drop. Like,
well, he was attacking a cat, right?
Yeah, it's sort of justified, but it's terrible. So, like, I haven't even, like, hurt another human being very bad in my life. But, yeah, so that is, man.
Well, don't feel bad.
That was one of the messed up things that I've done.
Don't feel bad, because I remember, I think it was like 3 or 4, we had these baby hamsters, and I feel awful for fucking, this always made me feel guilty for thinking about this. I never really told anyone I did this. But I took one of the baby hamsters out when I was like a kid, stepped on it, and then put him back in the cage.
Good Lord.
And it's like,
I mean, as a kid.
Like, yeah, as a kid, but like then I still bothers me. Like, man, I wish I never did that. Like,
right, exactly.
Well, I think when you're young and you do something like that, I think you learn like the value of life. And
right, I was gonna say like I had never really had anything like that happen, and in my mind I was like defending my cat, but like after I killed it, I was like, man, that's like fucked up. Like it does really hit home. Like you're like, yeah, no, I'm not ever gonna do anything like that again.
Yeah, like I think there's something wrong if you feel like if you didn't feel something from that.
Oh my gosh!
Like if you didn't feel
still
guilty,
bothers me so bad.
Yeah, I feel guilty and sick every time I think about it. Like, man, that was fucked up.
Yeah,
I should have never done.
Yeah, I get that. I think the best thing I ever did. I think aside from this, I think going back to the spiritual experience, I'm gonna probably have two answers because I know that's like a little bit cliche even, but I think that is probably one of the things that's impacted my life the most is starting to follow Jesus. But on the real sense, or I guess apart from that, Joyshtick is the best thing I have done and sticking with it, and just the blessing it continues to be to me and how much richness it's brought to my life. I think by far that's the best thing I've ever done. So I'm pretty proud of it.
Dude, I'm pretty proud of you, man. You're fucking badass.
Oh, thank you. Killing raccoons and starting food trucks.
Killing raccoons and starting food trucks.
Yeah.
All right, Evan, I want to thank you for doing the episode.
Absolutely.
This was really fun. Go ahead and shamelessly plug yourself.
I will shamelessly plug myself to the moon and back. The best way to follow us and figure out what we're doing and kind of where the food truck will be is to follow us on Facebook. Go like the page. It's Joyshtick Food Truck. Joyshtick. A lot of people spell it wrong. That'll be the way you miss us. But Instagram and Facebook are linked, so go on Instagram and follow us at Joyshtick Food Truck as well. Those are the best places to keep in touch with us. Come out and try the food. Might like it. You probably won't hate it, but you know, you might. Yeah, let me know what you think. But I'm really proud of the work that's gone into it, and I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. So come be a part of it. Come like us on Facebook and social media, see what we're doing.
And I will put the information into the description. So if you guys want to follow him and look up his food truck, and if you live in Jacksonville or near Jacksonville and want to check it out, you can always check it out, but it'll be in the description of the episode. Again, check out the website, atabooolife.com. A lot of great articles on there. There's a manuscript I've put online on the website because I'm trying to get it professionally published, and so far I'm like 30 rejection letters deep. So you can check out the actual book online for free and give me your opinions about it. Please forgive me on the grammar. It's just a manuscript, so it's not been properly edited, but it's something I'm proud of. It took me 2 years to write. So again, check out the website, atabooolife.com. Articles on there, other episodes, short stories, and books on there. All of it's for free. I want to thank you again for Evan for coming on the episode.
Absolutely.
This was really fun, really insightful. Really can't wait to actually get this aired. Oh yeah, I was going to ask you, you said you're doing the food truck tomorrow?
So we're doing it tomorrow. We just ended doing the proceeds to Cliff. But yeah, we're going to be out tomorrow at Nocatee from 11 to 4 doing like a Labor Day thing.
All right, I'm going out there.
Yeah, dude, definitely do it.
Because I want to taste your food now. All right, guys, listen again, and have a good week.